Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 103 of the Hardly Millennial podcast, where we are young, dumb, and full of
opinions.
Lots of opinions.
Ooh, baby. So the two people I have with me today are the beautiful Matthew Lynn
Hello.
and the ravenous Vincent Hazelhutz.
This is a monumental occasion. All right, so
It's finally happening,
the
boys.
last
It's finally happening.
3 times I've been on, they've been monumental. So
They have
first
been.
one was the Three Musketeers.
That's right.
And then the second one was the Justin three-way,
That's right.
and now it's Matthew three-way.
It's so
we
funny. It's just been within like the last month that like I've had all of you guys on, like you and Kyle and Danny and stuff and
Yeah.
Chris, but like I haven't like realized the lack of combination between everybody.
oh yeah,
Yet
we haven't established dynamics with certain types. So.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
I
those are.
love yours and Kyle's podcast. So your guys is
Oh, the one we did last time.
I haven't gotten to that one yet, but
Oh,
I'm talking
okay.
about ones previous have been just hilarious.
Kyle and I, it's funny because when we do ones by ourselves, it's like when there's always a third person in the mix, there are always things that like that person hasn't been around for, you know, like just in the past with Kyle and I hanging out and being friends as long as we have. So like when just Kyle and I get together, we'll reminisce about a lot of like shit,
Yeah,
you know, and then
yeah.
that'll leak into other conversations and stuff that we don't usually get to visit when we have like a third person on.
A lot of
A lot of
catching
the
up.
times,
Yeah.
but yeah, it ends up being
Yeah.
a lot of catching up. Like the last podcast, we ended up there was like a long conversation in regards to like the differences between like The Office and Parks and Recreation, and just like just different shit like that. You know?
Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only person who's noticed that too. All right.
Yeah. So so we just like, you know, but that's what's cool. That's why like I'm trying to switch up the combinations more with people, and just as you said, to get more dynamics and see, you know, the kind of conversations that come out of it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's cool to have this one now.
Yep.
Quite the dynamic here, isn't it?
Quite the dynamic. So if you guys haven't seen our Instagram post, Matthew made brownies.
I did, on a whim.
You did.
did.
I was hungry. I had nothing to cook for dinner. So I went downstairs, moseyed my way into the old pantry, you know, and found a box of brownie mix. Said, fuck it.
Okay.
I didn't have any vegetable oil. So
Well, I mean,
used the next
olive.
best thing.
Olive's a vegetable.
Is olive a vegetable?
I mean, it's not a fruit, is it?
What's the thing about it? There's something about the seeds that makes it a fruit. The seeds are on the inside. Or
Well,
something.
I remember reading up one time that tomatoes, like how we evolved.
Tomatoes
up
are a
to-
fruit.
Well, I looked it up one time and they're not a fruit. There's like a whole different like category.
And what are we
for
talking about?
those.
We're talking about olives.
You guys are talking about olives.
So
forgot
yeah,
for a
Matt
second.
made them with olive oil.
I made them with olive oil. I said, fuck it. I didn't think it was going to work. I was like, whatever. They're going to be flat. They're going to suck. So what I did, I cheated the system because I had
You
no faith.
did.
So I was like,
You
well,
cheated the system.
I know I'm going to lose, so I have to try to cheat, right? So what I did is I took the pan that you use to make like banana bread, has like the 8, you know, little cake inserts, and I poured the batter into those, and they fucking fluffed right up, dude.
Yep.
I cheated the
they're-
system and it worked.
They're poking up over the top. We weren't expecting miracles, but lo and behold, one happened in this pan.
It looks
in your
fantastic.
guys' oven, yeah.
I believe it's they are on Instagram. If you don't believe me, you can go look.
And if you
It's
want to
true.
see what
At
they
Hardly
smell
1000.
like, just put your nose up to your phone screen and sniff real deep.
Scratch and sniff, guys. Just
Yep, scratch and
just
sniff.
take a little knife and just scratch your phone when the video's playing, and then give it a sniff.
If you do that, don't blame us for whatever may happen.
So Vince,
Matthew,
I have to talk to you about something, bro.
what's up, bud?
I have to talk. I have to clear something up with you. Okay. And
Oh,
it
I've
happened.
never had a conversation start this way before. Let's see how this goes.
It happened earlier on the couch, and I waited for the podcast to clear it up because I feel like this is a common misconception, misnomer, misinformation that the whole world has. Okay, and Adam's going to be with me on this one.
Okay.
So, Vince, I want to start with this. Do you know what my job is? Do you know what I do?
So before you even say anything, in my mind, I was laughing because I knew exactly what was happening. And then, but I was like, why isn't Matthew like correcting him? And I was like, he's probably just having fun at this
I was.
point. Like, but okay, go on.
So anyway, I am, for about 3 years, I'm a barista.
You didn't let me answer.
You said it. You said you didn't know.
No, I didn't say that. I was beginning to say I believe you had something to do with coffee.
Something to do with I'm a barista.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Been in it for a while.
Okay.
Adam has also had quite the history of being a barista.
Yes. Yes. At many different Nordstroms.
Multiple
Yes.
Nordstry. Yes.
Nordstry.
Yes.
So we talked about espresso, and I
So
asked
you were jerking my chain the whole time. You knew damn good and well what espresso powder was.
I know exactly what espresso is.
Okay.
But I feel like the world does not know what espresso is, and I feel like it's frustrating to baristas when they're at their job. Not in today, it wasn't. I don't give a shit about today. But at their job, when people have misinformation and try to order using misinformation. So, for example,
Okay.
I asked you what espresso was,
Yeah.
and you told me, in essence, that it was the stuff that they put in frappuccinos, and that when you ask for an
Lattes,
extra shot, they squirt extra frappuccino in there,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Or extra
not,
extra espresso.
Extra
in there.
espresso. Yes.
Okay, so that's incorrect.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
not correct.
Well, thank you for clearing that up.
Espresso for the whole world, anyone who may be listening today, espresso, for the record, is a roast of coffee. Espresso can be made from really any kind of bean. It's a very dark roast of coffee.
Yeah.
So, and then the way an espresso ground is a very, very fine ground of coffee. And that allows it to be packed in the, porta grinders, porta filters, and then turned into shots.
Okay.
So when they're using that machine and all the steam's coming out and they're steaming the milk and stuff, that stuff that's pouring out, that's coming from the beans, is the espresso. Another thing for the whole world to know, and all baristas will thank me for this, stop asking for an extra shot in your frap, everybody. Because fraps are not made with any shots of
Yes.
espresso at any coffee
Yes.
shop that you work at ever.
I cannot tell you how many people order frappuccinos thinking they're getting their coffee for the morning. and
There's literally hardly
zero
any.
coffee in there.
Little to
like,
zero.
Like at my coffee shop, the only little bit of caffeine that you got was we used this thing called Java powder to mix
Okay.
it up, and there's a tiny
about
bit of
everyone
caffeine
will.
in there. Yeah.
So
but-
allow me to clear the
Yes, yes.
cleared air.
Okay.
As to where
This is not just you, Vince. This
Yeah.
this is something that baristas struggle with everybody
So
in
now
the
that
world.
all of my farts have been cleared, let me explain to you whence cometh the fart. So I got really tired of going to Starbucks in the morning and requesting it. And by the way, Starbucks is really the only place where I regularly get iced drinks from. I don't particularly remember to ask for an extra shot of espresso. Those little girls at the counter ask me, would you like an extra shot of espresso for 50 cents? To which case I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yes.
Of course I do. Hook that shit up, sister. And when I get to the drink, I have a drink in my hand that doesn't quite taste like the original thing, but it tastes better because I can hit that extra bit of caffeine.
Right.
And,
Uh-huh.
it's
get
like
some
smoking
peppermint.
and getting
little
the
darker.
burn.
Yeah.
Where
exactly.
I got sick of the whole equation was having to pay $6
yeah.
every
Yeah,
time.
that's why
I
they
went.
ask you if you want it.
Yeah.
Now, my wife, for those of you who may know, some who may not, is a woman who doesn't like to, what's the term, pay money for things? Incredibly frugal. So when she has something she likes, she cracks the code and figures out how to make it for pennies on the dollar. I'm telling you, she could teach this economy a thing or two.
She's like, no, Vince, we can make that at home.
Yeah, no,
honey,
seriously. Like it's, oh my God, it's like growing up with
but
my
I want the cute
grandmother.
girls to make it.
Like, I want to go to Burger King. I can make you a cheeseburger at home. You're not making a Burger King cheeseburger, Grandma.
Yes.
You're going to make one of your cheeseburgers.
Which is
okay?
great too, but I want a Burger King cheeseburger.
Right.
I want to wear the little
Wanna
crown
have it my
and feel,
way.
feel like a prince. Exactly. I want to have it my way. Which is funny because one of my favorite comments that one of my drill sergeants used to say all the time, and I love this, was, "This ain't Burger King, bitch. You can't have it your way."
Right.
I've carried that throughout my life. I love that little statement. Like, sometimes shit just doesn't go your way. But remember, this ain't Burger King, bitch. You can't have it your way.
So your wife cracked the code on,
She cracked
on
the code
lattes.
on lattes. Oh no! I took inspiration from her to go. Okay, how? Because she doesn't give a. She doesn't.
This is
give
why
a
you're
damn.
a unit.
She is a very devout Latter-day Saint. She doesn't do much with coffee. Rarely.
Oh, she
any
doesn't really
tea.
drink coffee or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she doesn't give a damn.
But for your
about-
sake, so you would stop spending money, she figured it out.
No, again, I drew inspiration from the wife unit and went, okay, Google, I want to crack a code. How does
she must
my
have been
wife?
so proud.
She was because I learned how to make a peppermint mocha frappuccino.
No shit.
So what the recipe
How do you do it?
what the recipe calls for is my first mistake when I tried to
I'm
do it
interested
on
in
my
what he uses
own.
for base.
I just tried to pour a cup of coffee in with ice cubes and the accoutrement.
And you got a slushy.
It was gross. So I was like, all right, how do they do it?
Okay.
The ice cubes must be made of coffee. So you make a carafe of coffee, you pour into an ice cube tray, you freeze it, you put it in your high powered blender with your peppermint mocha, or not your peppermint and your mocha, or if you have a peppermint mocha.
No, I get it. The syrup's the easy part.
The syrup,
right?
yeah.
You put a little bit of milk in there?
A little bit of milk.
Okay.
I usually
Do you use any base?
Base?
Do you put like powder or any extra like gluey kind of stuff in there or anything? What holds it together?
It's cold and I drink it fast. I don't really look at it.
It must be somewhat slushy-esque.
It's probably a little slushier.
But I'm impressed. So you blend it all up, and then it kind of holds together long enough for you to drink it.
Yeah, and we have about a mid-tier blender. We're not fucking around blender is what I call it. Like, yeah, we mean business. We chop shit. Our blender sees some action. Okay,
Gotcha,
it's got some tags. So, and it got it damn near to the consistency that those blenders that they use in the coffee shops do, for commercially like $500 less than those things probably run for.
Yeah, those
I'd
blenders
imagine.
are intense, dude.
Those are like Vitamixes.
Yeah, you'll
Those
lose
things
your
are
finger
like
in that thing.
$2,000, yeah.
I have to wipe them down at the end of the day, and to do that, you have to take the pitcher out. So there's just like this hole with this fucking intensely like, I don't know, like a 5 horsepower fucking motor in that bitch. It's crazy. And when you're wiping it, the rag is wet. And it's a touch screen to turn it on. So sometimes it'll just fucking turn on. And it's never happened, but I'm always afraid that either my finger or the rag is going to go in there and just like get wound up in the motor.
Tell me you unplug it. Can you unplug it?
Nah, I ain't got time for that, Vince. You don't understand.
You like the dangerous.
I only have half an hour over the clock.
All right, so I'm going to explain a concept that I want to talk about here, and that's the understanding commonly known as an accident, where you're attempting to perform a task in a seemingly unsafe manner, and something occurs in which you or physical property around you is harmed.
Every time it happens, I always think, I'm like, that's how people lose fingers.
Yes. That's not the only way people
3 years
lose
running.
fingers, though.
I'm a lucky
But
guy.
I have it broken down to how accidents occur, because I don't like when people say, I got into a car accident. Look, we all get into little fender benders from time to time, but I can tell you this right now, Adam, you're going to probably take this a little personally because you've been in a number of accidents yourself.
I've been in quite a few.
But you can hopefully attest to this. Since you've been in a good number, car accidents, in my opinion, are a combination of either someone not paying attention and or someone breaking the
car accidents don't exist. They're called vehicle collisions.
Vehicle
is
collisions.
What they are.
Okay.
There's no
accidents.
That's only...
an accident implies that nobody is at fault, and it's near impossible to get into a vehicle collision without anybody being at fault.
There's two sides to every story.
But regardless, the side of the story is always it was the other person's fault.
Yeah.
They were doing something wrong, right?
And that's only a rough example, but I'm going to apply this into other things, such as like what Matthew was talking about. I'm going to get to what just happened under that table here in a moment.
It was necessary,
Something
Vince.
just happened.
I promise you it was 100% necessary, or I wouldn't have done it.
I instinctively almost said something into the microphone while you were doing it.
There was literal pain involved, and if I hadn't have done it, the pain wouldn't have stopped.
Okay,
I had to do it to make pain stop.
It's not so much what you did; it's how you did it.
It needed to be done, Vince.
I'm not saying it didn't.
That's gonna peak. I'm so sorry, guys.
I have
That's
dug,
gonna be really
I have
loud.
dug ingrown toenails out so many times.
It wasn't ingrown. It wasn't. It wasn't like that. You don't even know the story.
I don't.
You're just assuming things.
But what I saw
You're making leaps.
was this man next to
and
me.
you're judging, and that's wrong.
I'm not judging. I'm just I'm amazed at what just happened. That was incredible. I've never seen somebody an adult human being who can bring their foot to their mouth and yank some shit off their big toe with their
Bro, I
teeth.
can put my leg over my head.
That's fucking
I can do
crazy.
it right now.
Do it. No, I want to see
Do you
this.
literally want to see it?
Yeah, no, I'm legitimately
you wanna
impressed.
record
I'm not
it,
fucking
Adam?
with you.
Yeah,
Like,
you know what? Why the fuck that?
I am impressed.
I can put my leg over my head.
Again, air being
Instagram.
cleared here, I am always impressed by feats of human like flexibility or strength. I think the human body is an incredibly he is bending in a weird way.
Well, I'm gonna make sure I don't pull my fucking back.
Are we doing an Instagram on this?
I'm
Are
gonna
you-
record it and then I'm gonna post it tomorrow.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So
here's-
you guys will
Okay.
see this
Oh,
during
cool.
the day of the podcast is released.
if you're one of those people who can sync up like the podcast to the video,
with this video,
here's your shining moment. Here's
All
your
right,
free
ready?
bird.
I'm gonna record it.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
All right, so here's Matthew in real time.
It's me, guys. I haven't done this in a while.
He hasn't done
I
this
used
in
to
a
be able
while.
to do this.
He's about to put his leg over his head.
I used to be able to do this. Ready?
Go.
Oh!
He did
Oh!
it.
Oh my God!
Oh shit!
Oh!
Yeah, boys.
Jesus Christ,
Still got
dude.
it in me.
That was
That's right.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Can you fit into like suitcases and shit?
I don't
I'm
know,
sorry, I'm peeking
but
all
I
over
can
the
also
place.
like,
You're
I
all
can
right.
also like reach way behind my feet.
I can do that, thankfully.
don't
I can
do
put my
Matthew is
hands
currently putting his
I'm super
hands down
flexible.
to his. Yeah, he's super
like
flexible.
my back. I try
And I
so
never
hard to stay
exercise.
flexible, but
I don't deserve any of that.
I'm super
awesome,
inflexible, dude.
I'm
I am
opposite
the
of double
least-
jointed.
Yeah,
I'm like
I am
half
the least
jointed,
flexible person.
I can thankfully
Well, there
do
you go.
the bend over and like put your hands flat on the ground, but like putting your leg over your head.
Yeah, I can do that.
Fuck no. If I want my
can walk
legs
it.
over my head, I'm gonna go to prison. Like, that's my 5-year plan.
It's just a weird thing I figured out when I was a kid. I don't know. I was a
That's
weirdo.
cool. That's no.
I wonder if
that's-
I could do this, and I did it.
just
So
do it. Yeah, that's wild, man.
So really quick before we get too off track, I want to revisit. I
Sorry,
want
guys.
to revisit the barista stuff again.
Okay.
Oh,
alright.
for sure.
Because
yeah. That
because
was fun.
there are
Thanks for not blowing it on the couch too, because I was wondering.
Yeah, I was like thinking about it the entire time you're like he was talking on the couch. Like, why is Matthew agreeing with it? Matthew knows better than this. But I was
Yeah.
like, okay, there must be something going on.
Oh, also, I'm just gonna say real quick, if you're ever in a situation where you're with two baristas and you forget they're baristas, they're not gonna directly engage you. Apparently, they're gonna let you walk yourself
They're
into
very
the
passive
There's a
aggressive.
trap,
secret barista
and then
window.
passive aggressively judge you from the sidelines and not say anything. They'll let you look stupid.
You know, it's funny
That's
though.
right.
It's true about the passive aggressiveness because you'll always go to a coffee shop and if you have a good barista who's working there, they'll
Yeah.
always be the most friendliest person to you. And for all you know, they could fucking hate your.
Oh yeah,
guts.
as soon as you walk
And
away,
would
when they
never
have this
know.
thing steaming and it's loud, we're talking shit about you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
our moment. We have
literally-
like 15 seconds to say whatever
I
we
have
want.
literally talked shit about customers who are literally
can't
like
do
a
that
foot
at
away
Subway.
from me.
No.
You can't do that at Subway.
Or if we go in the back, if two people go in the back at the same time, they're not doing dishes.
they're talking
shit
shit
about
about
you.
Okay. Okay.
But so one of the funny things working at a coffee shop that is not Starbucks is how many people you get in who think that Starbucks basically invented coffee. So I cannot tell you how many. So first of all, I've worked at the E-Bar in Nordstrom, right?
yeah.
So I work in a mall. Now, in this mall, there are 3 Starbucks you can go to.
Yes.
There's the main Starbucks that's outside the food court.
It's lovely. I've been there.
There's one in Barnes & Noble, and now there's one in Macy's. Okay, so there's 3 Starbucks in this mall.
Okay.
So I have had people come up to me all the time and say, hi, I've never been here before. Oh, okay, no problem. Welcome in, welcome to the E-Bar. And they go, so look, Starbucks makes me this thing, and maybe you guys have it or not. They make me this thing called a caramel macchiato.
My
Do you guys
hand
do anything like that?
It's palming into my
Do we
own
make
face.
a caramel macchiato?
The
answer is-
almighty
the
macchiato.
almighty caramel macchiato.
Do you know how many of those I make a day?
Boy.
Like, the amount of people who think that Starbucks just invented all of these drinks
Do you have
is
frappuccinos here? Do you have like
Yeah.
the blended up ice thing? Can you do that?
It's like, yes.
Yes, bitch, I can do
Every
it.
coffee shop in the planet can fucking make you a caramel macchiato.
So the best thing ever happened to me as a
That's what
barista.
happens when you don't work at
I was-
Starbucks, man.
it's what happens when you don't go to any place else but Starbucks. These
Yep.
basic
That's how-
bitches come in.
That is
and
how
they're like,
mainstream.
Do you get the people
Starbucks
who
has
are
become.
from Seattle?
oh, yes. Oh,
I'm from
my
Seattle.
gosh. I'm from Seattle.
You're
We have
probably
this
not going to understand.
every single time.
What, coffee?
The biggest one I get
Dude.
from Seattle is I'm from Seattle. I'll try to explain this to you, but I want an espresso macchiato, and I'm like, yes, I know what that
Yeah,
is. I make
got
them
you.
every fucking day. Like,
That's
chill
like-
the fuck
I had a
out.
bitch come in, tell me she was from Seattle. So I was probably not going to understand. But, Adam, she was going to try anyway.
That's like
Thanks.
being.
So you know what she orders? Let me tell you what she orders, okay? She says, "Can I please get in a large hot cup just some steamed half and half with some vanilla and a couple of shots of espresso?" And I was like, "Oh my god, my mind's blown."
That's a latte, Vince.
It's a vanilla fucking
Okay.
latte,
Yes.
Linz.
Okay.
It's literally barista 10 It's like your first
so they're
day.
getting super
Your
technical
first
with
day
it
of
then.
barista
Okay.
training. They're like, "Okay, let me
Yes.
start you with a latte and
Yeah.
see if you can do it. Put vanilla in it."
Yeah.
Yes. And this bitch told me all the ingredients of a vanilla latte.
Broke it down for you, man.
Broke it
She's from
down,
Seattle.
Can you
dude.
imagine if people did that with other things? Like, here's your 4-wheel drive, automatic transmission, windows going down, AM, FM radio vehicle, 4-cylinder, turbo with the wheels and the. Did I mention the wheels? I think I mentioned the
mentioned the
wheels.
wheels.
And the trunk doors, 4 of them. Fuck, dude. That's ridiculous. Could you imagine if people from, like, Rhode Island were like that? Like, oh, you think you know fish? Oh, you don't know fish. You don't know lobsters.
Can I get one with the scales,
You don't know
the
fucking
scales and the
lobsters.
fins on it?
You know, the little red crustaceans with the claws on the ends of their hands. Yeah, those little guys. Yeah, you know what I'm talking. You don't know what I'm talking about. You're not from Rhode Island. You don't know lobster. I know lobster. Fuck.
Yeah. That's
It
what
doesn't-
Seattle
it-
people are like in a
yeah.
coffee shop. We hate you.
Yeah,
we hate all
dude.
of you.
I wonder
It's-
what Oregon people are like in bars.
What do you mean?
Oregon is apparently like the home of IPAs. So I could imagine that
Oh.
some of the more insufferable
I'm sure it's
beer
where a lot of the
hipsters are
snobs
probably
exist.
just
Yeah.
like
It's a
The
type of-
International Penis Association?
IPA.
I've been a member for about 3 years now.
No.
I didn't know that they let you in. I hadn't heard.
No. You know what? If there is, leave a comment down below.
I'm
no.
sure it exists.
Hashtag penis.
IPA is India Pale Ale.
Oh,
Yeah,
of course.
It's a
I
it's
get
a
them
type
mixed
of
up.
beer.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's no. It's,
My
you
mistake.
get them so mixed up.
Big part of my life.
International. Someone's gonna sue somebody one day. Someone has to sue someone.
We're a peaceful organization.
The
guys.
international is the are you okay? Well, yeah. If you're the International Penis Organization
Association.
or Association, oh sorry.
Say,
Yes,
well,
that's the
thank you to
IPO,
get our
my
name
bad,
right.
my bad, yeah.
Anyway,
Get offended about
what have
the
you been up
name,
to,
but-
Adam? Well, you had a change in profession lately.
Yeah,
I guess
I'm
we would
a-
call it.
yeah.
I hate to say job because you work at the same place, but you do a different thing there.
Right. Well, as
How's it
already
going for you?
stated, I worked at the E-Bar in Nordstrom, and now I work in the shoe department again. So now
How's the venture
I'm selling
going?
shoes.
Not your first rodeo. in
Not my
shoes.
first rodeo. So I used to manage an Echo store back in the day. So then I sold for a multi-brand shoe store at one point also. So yeah, not my first rodeo at all.
How many
But-
rodeos must one endure?
And everything was. I will say this. Everything I felt was going fine until today.
Oh my.
Dead serious until today.
Interesting. You came
Yeah.
home with high enough spirits.
Yeah, well, I mean, this situation happened, it really like hurt my feelings. Like it really
no.
bothered
Do you
me. But
care
I
to
just
talk
kind
about
of,
it?
I'll talk about it. 'Cause it's getting this point where it's ridiculous, at least in my eyes. Okay.
Okay.
So, I had this issue when I was working at the E-Bar, where my boss would basically make these assumptions that, oh, Adam's in a bad mood, right? You know, days where I might have just been low energy or whatever, right? To where I constantly would have to explain myself, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. That is not the case. Now, mind you, I'm not like being rude to customers. I'm
Yeah.
still putting on the face when I'm
Maintaining your
interacting with
professionalism.
customers
Sure.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Just not at 110.
Yeah, exactly. Just not at 110. So
Nothing wrong with 99% people.
I have enjoyed this new job, and I have been selling a lot, and I've been talking with the customers and doing whatever. And I was literally called into the back today and was told that sometimes when my managers look over, I don't look happy enough. Dead serious. I was told this today. They go, you don't look like you're enjoying it. You look like you hate. The word they use is sometimes we look over and it looks like you hate being here. And I was totally stunned, dude. Like
You weren't
totally-
actually in any
like,
kind of bad
zero,
mood or
dude.
nothing.
Zero mood.
Bro,
the
maybe you have,
entire
like,
time
resting
I've
bitch
been there.
face or something.
Well, and it's funny because I was
Like, honestly.
No, it's the male equivalent.
It's
of
gotta
resting bitch
be.
face.
I mean,
Yeah.
it must be. But the thing is, it's like I always come to work. I'm always very bubbly when I say hi to people. And I mean, you guys know me. I'm a goofy guy.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And so, like, my feelings were truly hurt
Yeah.
when I was told this, because now I'm sitting here going like, oh my God. First of all, I've never had this issue at any other job I've worked. I have only had this issue with Nordstrom.
Right.
So I'm being told this, and like I said, my feelings are truly hurt at this point, because I'm literally telling them, I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm not in a bad mood.
Did they give
I'm
you
being
any
very
strategies
nice
or something?
Well, I mean,
to
they
help?
basically just told me to put on a face, you know, and I told them, I go, well, I'm under
That's
the
gonna
impression.
look even more plastic than.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I was even told, like, now we don't want you to like walk around like a Joker smile on you or anything. I'm like, well,
That's
I don't
the
know what
only
you
way
want me
he
to
smiles,
do.
though. That's the only way. Anyone who knows Adam knows that's the only way Adam smiles. It's like the Joker.
But the
so.
thing is, like, I was truly just dumbfounded and was trying to tell them, I don't know what you guys want me to do. Like, I'm not in a bad mood. I'm not getting customer complaints from people. All I could say was, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm truly to this point to where, like, it hurt my feelings so bad and put me in such a funk, because I was just thinking, well, how am I supposed to act now? What am I supposed to do at
Well, and
jobs?
does it even
Because-
matter if you
let me-
change anything, or are you
Well-
just now the guy who's always going to be the bad
And
attitude guy?
exactly, and that's
Like-
what really bothers
That's
me
the
about
worst.
it.
Is
Because
when they
once you
call
get
out
that
your-
impression,
They
Now
call out your
yeah.
attitude. That's an
Yeah.
instant trigger point for me.
well, and then they're
Yeah.
never going to forget it. Man, it would take a fucking year of like being
Well,
perfect.
and then I have
know?
to sit
Like,
there and think, like, when I look over to like the women's shoe size, when they have employees of like 6-7 people, I go, sometimes they're not smiling. Why am I being singled out here all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Especially when I'm probably the most bubbly one as far when it comes to like the coworkers, and I'm being judged because they look over and maybe somebody's talking to me or something, and I don't have a grin on my face.
Dude, I've been dealing with this exact thing that you're talking about my entire fucking life, to the point where I have gotten into verbal altercations with people about it, which doesn't fucking help your case.
You're right. It doesn't, and
Nah.
and you know what? It's funny. So when I was told this, when I worked at the E-Bar, I did talk back because it made me angry. Like, oh, so you're misinterpreting what I'm doing, so now I'm in trouble because you're having insensitivities to this or whatever it is. And now I was at this point where I was sitting with them of, well, I feel like I can't defend myself because that's only going to
You can defend yourself.
confirm.
I have discovered a technique that you can use when confronted with situations like this that so far for me has had 100% effectiveness rate. When they say that or when they bring it up, you give them a really big, ugly smile, just the biggest, stupidest smile you can imagine, and say, no, oh, no, no, no. You guys got me all wrong. That's my normal face.
Right.
And then right back. People, no, they...
But my
The
thing,
situation will be completely.
but
different.
that's pretty much what I mean, I didn't do it in dramatic fashion, but I mean,
Sometimes you need to.
I told them though, I go, that's my face. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm a very happy person. I'm
I
obviously,
thought you were going to say handsome.
Well, no,
Very
let's,
handsome
I'm
person.
very, like, I'm
let's
selling.
not mistake. Let's not get the shit twisted. Adam is a very handsome.
But the
Well,
thing
yes,
is,
but-
I'm selling shoes for you guys. It's not like I'm low on sales. So it's not like you were able to say, well, you're low on sales. Maybe this is why.
Maybe your old boss has something.
You know, it's like I zero clue, like, know what to do at this point. I'm just like, okay, well, now I'm afraid of whatever I act is going to be misinterpreted as either A, oh, now he's patronizing us because he's acting overly bubbly or happy or whatever it is, or B, it's gonna be, oh, well, he's not doing what we asked him to do. So literally the rest of the day, I like was just walking around at any time that like I wasn't showing expression on my face. I just try to put a grin or a smirk on my face and just walked around like that so nobody could misinterpret and go, oh, well, he's not happy. Well, no, I was smiling. Did you not see me? I've been very conscious about having a smile on my face the entire time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to say
There's your smile.
So
there's
Why are
your-
you
yeah,
not
there's your
smiling?
smile.
the only thing that I think is worse than somebody walking around looking disgruntled is somebody who goes around looking disgruntled and then smiling out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then going back to looking disgruntled.
But it just threw me for a
Maybe,
loop.
maybe
Freaky.
subconsciously in your soul, you actually hate your job, and you're there.
I mean,
Oh God, I'm like
maybe.
choking on brownie as I'm
Might-
trying to say
you
it.
might have a point.
And
You
maybe
might
like
have a point.
subconsciously, your body just shows off that you hate it.
And look, I'm not denying that possibility at all. Okay?
You're like, that is very possible.
I mean, but like in all realistic, like I don't want to be selling shoes the rest of my life. Of course not. But the thing is, I've never have ever had this issue with any other job I have worked. And
Like,
I have
I've
worked
hated a lot of
jobs, and I've
jobs.
hated a lot of jobs. Exactly. And now all of a sudden, this department store I work for is like, you need to be happier when you're here. Like, what?
That's some big brother
What?
shit right there, man.
No fucking kidding, though. It's just like, what the fuck do you want me to do?
Police your thoughts. Adam.
Like-
police your thoughts.
Yeah, no kid. So now I'm just at this point where it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to be overly bubbly. And then if you want to talk to me about it again, I'm going to go, okay, well, you guys take out a piece of paper and write me down steps. of
just
what you
start
want me to-
telling
So when I walk to the cash wrap, what would you like me? Do you want me to skip? Would you like me to have a smile when I do that? When is it okay to smile and when is it okay not to? So I can
Yeah.
follow it to a T.
Just
so
tell
there's
everyone you're
zero
happy all the
issues.
time. In the morning, just be like, morning, I'm happy. And they say, hey, Adam, go, what's up? I'm happy.
Well, that's the problem,
just
though.
all the
Then
time.
Then it's like, oh, well, he's patronizing us.
Like, no, I'm just super happy.
I was telling Matthew this one story yesterday about when I worked at the E-Bar, where there was a time when I was working a kitchen shift, and I had to grab something that was in this very heavy box that was on a top shelf.
Yeah.
And when I took it down, it accidentally made a loud thud when it hit the counter.
Yeah, yeah.
And my manager just happened to be walking through the kitchen at the time, and I'm just going about my business, getting what I need to out of this box. And she goes, Adam, if you don't like doing this anymore, you need to talk to me about it, but we can't have you walking around with attitude. And I'm just like,
I hate
the
that.
box was heavy!
I hate that
What
so
the
much.
fuck do you want from me?
Oh,
like, it's
God.
getting so... Because I thought I escaped this from leaving the barista job
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was at.
yeah.
And now all of a sudden I'm a month into this position and I'm being told this same shit at a job that I do actually like working.
So my
feelings
it's a
were
kick in
just
the balls.
greatly
I have-
hurt.
I have
Yeah.
some questions for you.
What?
Do you think now that since you have experienced this at two different organizations within the same parent company, that this might be a particular management style handed down from the top?
Well, I don't know if
Employees
it's...
must be happy or else.
Well, first of all, do you think there's
Shakes
even
fist.
at the root of do you think there even is a problem?
Truly,
like-
at this particular position, no.
You don't even think that there's any
I
problem
was
at all?
totally thrown for a loop for it.
Okay.
Even when I was talked to at the E-Bar about it, there were things where I was like, okay, I could see how sometimes maybe I could be coming off like that. But like this was truly like, I have zero clue what I have done in the last month to make you guys think that I'm not happy working my job.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't
thought you
come
come
in
home happier.
Yeah, I haven't come home. I haven't like gone to work with an added like. Sometimes at the E-Bar things got so bad there to where like I just being there, I was like, oh, I'm here again, and that would instantly put me in a mood, right?
And you'd be,
but like,
throughout your day, you'd be thinking about other things.
but yeah, but like
yeah.
I used to, I say shit all the time to my coworkers when I come in the morning, like, oh hey Adam, how are you? Up, you know, I'm ready to save save lives one shoe at a time. You know, I just say stupid shit like that. So it's like, how is this all being misinterpreted now as Adam doesn't like his? And I immediately asked, I'm like, am I getting customer complaints? Like, did somebody complain about? And one thing that was told to me was that like the regional, I guess, came in one time and like saw me when I was talking with somebody, like I was leaning on the cash wrap or like register area.
Oh, the old lean
And-
complaint?
yeah,
That look like
exactly.
you're busy.
And
Just
I'm-
pretend you're
and then
doing
I'm
busy
thinking-
things. I hate that.
And then I'm thinking to myself, I
crap.
go, well, first of all, that person I was talking to bought the shoes from me, so there's a sale for your department.
You're welcome.
And
Cha-ching.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like two, this regional made no effort to come over and introduce herself to me or to even know who I was or any of that. So they literally looked over and was like, I don't like that guy. Have a conversation with him. He needs to be happier working here. Like,
Or-
what
Like,
the
like that
fuck?
show we were watching last night. It was like, get me a large Coke. If it's a medium, I send it back. If it's an extra large, I send it back.
Speaking of shows, have you guys seen the show I Think You Should Leave on Netflix?
No, I don't think
I
we've
feel like
watched
I've heard
that.
of it, but I haven't seen it.
If you haven't seen
the
it,
premise?
you have to. There isn't one.
Like Seinfeld-esque?
to a degree of ridiculousness. If you're cool with weird, strange, and sometimes seemingly unobvious comedy, it's
I'm not okay with that.
hilarious. Okay, let me paint one particular
Like
scene.
Letterkenny kind of thing?
No. I feel like Letterkenny's more on the irreverent side of
Yeah.
comedy. Whereas
Okay.
this, I'll paint one skit. It's a sketch comedy show.
Okay.
There's a funeral taking place, and this guy, and it's funny because the guy who's telling the speech about his dead father is clearly older than the guy in the casket.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So
right
it's one of
there,
those you have
you're
to like
like-
notice it.
Yeah.
You know?
He sits down, the Reverend comes up, and he's like, okay, now we're going to play a hymn. And our normal organ player is out, so we have replacement Dan here with his much larger, fancier organ. And there's this old dude sitting on the bench, and he turns and looks and goes, my condolences, and starts playing this jaunty carnival tune with whistles and cymbals, and he's got a stack of plates, smashes one on the ground. People are mourning in the audience and looking at this guy like he's insane.
Okay, so I have to ask. So that brings me to my next question. You're saying that people in the audience are mourning.
Yes.
So what? They found a real funeral that was supposed to take place, and these people were going there to mourn a real person, and they were like, "Let's play a prank on these."
This wasn't
people."
real. No, this is all
No,
sketch
I think it's a
comedy.
sketch.
This is all sketch comedy.
It's all actors.
Oh, so
This
it's
is all
not. They're
sketch
not
comedy.
like. It's not like a prank show.
No,
No, it'd be like Key and
Gotcha.
Peele or
God.
Chappelle
Okay,
Show.
Yeah,
gotcha.
no, it's
I was
sketch
under the impression it was
comedy.
like a prank show, and I was like, "Well, that's a weird place to do a prank." like,
Like, that is inappropriate.
yeah, like Jackass wouldn't even go that far.
Oh,
like,
you
geez.
never know. You never know. To stay relevant, they might.
Maybe. but-
Do they still do Jackass?
I don't think so.
There's no
I think
way.
they do
They
appearances
don't.
at places and occasionally
Dude,
do
Bam-
some
like Bomb-
charity stunt work, but
What's his name? Margera.
Margera, yeah.
Margera.
Yeah.
He's like a fucking mess, dude.
well, he's coming
Like-
out of it now after Ryan Dunn. Ryan Dunn was like his best friend.
Yeah,
That was-
that
remember,
was
like
sad. I
really
remember
put
He
him
was
that.
over.
bad.
Yeah,
That was sad.
That fucked him up for a long time.
Yeah, he was great.
So, but who knows? Maybe there'll
And
be
there's
a,
good old
a Jackass
Steve-O.
4.
Bill Steve-O. Steve-O does a lot of things. Like he makes a lot of
Steve-O does a lot
appearances
of
on
things.
stuff. He does a lot of podcasts actually now. He's always like special guests on podcasts, or like he was on Hop Ones, the like wing eating interview show on
Oh,
YouTube.
I
He's
saw
on
the
the
Billie
sober
Eilish
train
episode
now,
of
too.
that.
I did too. But yeah, so
He's a trooper.
Johnny Knoxville does acting shit every now and then and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But for the most part, they're kind of disbanded. But I'm sure it'll be one of those. They'll come back in like 5 years and be like, "Oh, we're gonna do a Jackass 4." You know, stay
I
tuned.
could see that. Yeah.
You know, but who knows?
They don't have to, like, do the old people costumes. They'll just be old.
Yeah.
So on the subject of Jackass, let's go around the table real quick and let's tell the audience the stupidest, most Jackass-like thing that we have ever done.
Oh,
Something
God.
that could easily be featured in a Jackass episode or movie.
I truly don't think I've done anything so extreme.
I've
To
seen you
be-
jump off of roofs though. And
I mean,
things before.
yeah, but I mean, that's probably the extent of it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I did more things like break into places, like shit that was closed.
Okay,
and shit like
okay,
that. I mean, I
yeah.
did more shit like that, but I never like this is Adam. Welcome to Jackass. I'm gonna jump off this 3-story thing into a kiddie pool.
I'm
you
gonna
know?
ride a grocery cart in the canals. I
Yeah.
totally never did that.
No,
I
no.
totally fucking did.
But no, I mean nothing like nothing like too crazy though. Nothing to be Jackass worthy, at least. You know. I don't know. You tell me.
Were you there for the party when we were smashing tiles in the backyard?
No,
No,
but
you
I
weren't
know
there for
about
that
that
one?
story.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
I do know about that story. Though.
I've done a lot
That's
of-
definitely a Jackass.
I've done a lot of
story.
Jackass type things. I guess I might be the only one sitting here that's
Yeah, I mean,
put my body at
we
risk
threw
for
a
no
crazy,
reason.
we threw a trash can party once.
What is
That
the
was a
trash
little
can
crazy.
party?
Yeah.
So you get a
please
trash
tell me.
can, one of those like big plastic ones, like
Yeah.
the 50-gallon ones, you know, big
Yeah.
ass ones, and you put it in the middle of the room, and you invite a bunch of people over, and everyone brings different like alcohol, and then you dump it in the trash can, and then once everyone's there, you take your cup and you dunk it, and that's what you drink. It's trash can party.
That sounds
had a
unsanitary.
couple of those,
I
actually.
went from being incredibly
clean trash can.
intrigued to being moderately like disappointed
Well,
And
it
the
usually
youth
ends up with a lot of
today,
nudity, so I wouldn't be too
You
disappointed.
don't need a trash can full of liquor to get people naked, bro.
I'm
Oh,
just
we used
saying,
to have a lot
these
of nude
particular
parties.
parties
Yeah,
end
no.
up being naked ones usually.
Dude, we didn't even have liquor, and we all ended up naked at our house.
Oh,
Like,
okay. That brings
Well,
me
it
to a
sounds like you know
story
how to party.
I have
We
to
did.
tell. I have to tell this
No,
story.
so real quick, I had a technique, and anybody out there who's listening that is not comfortable with their physique and not comfortable with their body
Fuck off.
type,
Just leave now, honestly. That's what he's about to say. Let me just cut to the chase.
Matt, chill.
Sorry. My
Chill
bad.
for a
I'm
second.
totally kidding, guys. We love all of you. I'm
Nothing
totally kidding.
gets people naked like the guy who should be the most ashamed of being naked getting naked. So me being the fattest, most oddly shaped person at the party, when my clothes came off and I jumped in the pool, everyone followed suit. Because at that point, inhibition was out the door. The fat guy just got
As
naked.
the
long-
fact I just got naked.
You have to
Yep.
double check that there are absolutely positively no children at that party.
Unless,
And then once you are
unless
positive,
everyone
you
there
can get
is-
naked.
Unless everyone there is 16. In which case, I mean, you're all there, so y'all shouldn't be. So,
Okay, that's the one exception.
yeah.
You didn't hear it here.
There was
Not condoning anything. I'm just saying that's how it happens.
so there was a time going off of your no liquor involved, getting naked
Yeah.
kind of stories. So there was a time that Vince used to live in this. It wasn't a trailer. It was a manufactured home, is what it was.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we were all outside on his porch. So his porch is like one of those side porches, right? So you can see the street from the porch.
The side of the aluminum wall that you walked out of onto
Yeah.
a concrete pad
Yes,
just happened
exactly.
to have chairs and a table there.
Yes, there you go.
The
So
porch.
we were
And an
all
overhang too. So
we were
equally
all
valuable.
sitting there one night in high school, and it was me, Vince, Kyle, and then like 3 ladies were with us, I think.
Yeah.
And
Danny.
and then 2 others.
Yeah.
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 So we were all sitting there.
We know who they were.
We
but-
know who they
yeah,
are.
We know
yeah,
who they
yeah,
were.
yeah.
But yeah.
But so we were all sitting there, and we were just talking, and it's late, like it's late at night, it's like midnight to 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. one of those.
And this was one of those
And-
warm summer nights too,
Yes.
so it was even better. Yeah.
So somehow it just started with somebody took off their shirt.
I did. I'm raising my hand.
Okay,
I
and
took
then
off my shirt and let that fat belly fly.
And then somebody else took off their shirt. Then
Kyle.
somebody took their pants off.
Kyle was
and
number
then-
2, and then you were number 2. No, Kyle was number 2 with the shirt. You were like the first person to take their pants off.
I was gonna say, I think I was
Adam-
the first one to actually get naked.
Adam's always the all-in guy. Like if people are doing things, Adam's going
okay.
all in as fast as he's like, bet I'm naked. Whoosh, Bruce Almighty.
If there's wine at the
Yeah.
party,
So-
Adam's probably going to get naked.
Yeah, that's more than likely.
Wine
So
gets
yeah,
him naked.
we're all
And
out on this porch, just
Just
stone
all
sober
naked.
too. Stone
All
sober,
naked,
just smoking
just
cigarettes.
smoking cigarettes.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, so we're like laughing, having a good time. All of a sudden, the door to Vince's house slams open, and it's Vince's dad. And we're all just like, oh, we're all sitting. There's like 6 naked kids
And
on this
one
fucking
clothed
porch.
one.
And there was one person
clothed
who
one.
would not get nude.
Just didn't budge.
You know
Of
who
course,
you
there's
are.
always one. Yeah.
And
They regret it.
yeah, they regret it. Of course they do. And all of a sudden, so we're like expecting to get like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Da, da. And we just got, hey, keep it the fuck down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sleep in here. Da, da. And then he just goes back inside. And we're like, did he notice we were all naked? Was he too tired to
noticed.
notice that we were
He
all naked?
noticed.
Till this day, I don't think we know or not, do we?
I can tell you right now, knowing my dad, and I've asked him since, and of course he throws that bravado of course I knew
Right.
about anything like
Right,
that.
right.
But in this instance, I think he knew, and given that particular time, the things that were going on in life, I don't think he gave a fuck. He had just come out of a really nasty marriage. So at this
Right.
point, his apathy was like at an all-time.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
So
so
he
just
was
sort of
like,
like, my
what the
son's a
fuck
fucking
ever."
weirdo.
And we-
As
yeah.
long as y'all ain't waking me up, y'all be weird on my
Exactly.
fucking porch.
We were just laughing afterwards because we were just like, wow, like
Is it time to indulge, Vince?
I think it's time. Is it? Oh, wow.
I think we're about to indulge.
they're about to indulge,
indulge.
ladies and gentlemen, into a little smoky wokey.
Spaghetti-o.
Little smoky poop.
Don't judge me.
I smoked
We're
for
patients. The doctor told us to do it.
I quit smoking weed, guys, and yesterday I smoked once with Chris, and then I smoked once yesterday with Matthew, and I took one hit, and I was just gone for the rest of the night, dude.
But you've also been on a tolerance thing for some time now, so you're
well, that
back
was
to
just
Dude, that's the
it.
best.
Yeah, I was back to
When you can take a hit and you're good for like hours.
Oh yeah. Those
Fucking
Oh, it
are
was
awesome.
it was.
You can literally ride it. It feels like the beginning the whole
it's
time.
it's always so funny
Feels
when I
like the
do
first
it
time.
because it's always so funny when I do it because I smoke it and then I get as incredibly stoned as I did last night.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there like, wow, I used to just smoke like 3 bowls in a row,
Yeah.
you know, and still be like, okay, well, it's time to do another one because that one's, worn off now.
like an hour and a half
You're like,
later.
damn, Matthew
Yeah.
smokes
Yeah.
like 3 bowls.
That's
But I'm
too
still
much.
super stoned.
And like with everything, just as long as you're not doing it in excess, really on
As
a
long as you don't
enough-
do it at work, you're fine.
Yeah.
Just only do it at home.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy who does it when he drives. or
Don't be the
whatever.
guy who hits the vape pen in the parking
you're in
lot
LA.
thinking no one notices because let me tell you what, I walk around my building all the time and I see it.
You're just making us jealous. The straight people who do go to work and don't do it, we're just jealous.
I'm not a narc, but let me tell you what, there are security cameras everywhere these days. So if you're going to take that risk, you're taking it into your own hands.
They
man.
literally arrested a guy in front of my building, like last week. He was smoking the pipe.
Play
I
stupid
saw him out there
games,
doing it. I
play
didn't
stupid
call.
games, win
I saw him
stupid
doing it,
prizes,
and I was like,
man, yeah.
"Oh yeah." I even said in my head, "I was like, you go, brother. Yeah, like fight
Mm-hmm.
the system. Woo." You know? I was like, "I'm not gonna do
you're-
it, but good
Not
for you,
knowing
man."
that cops frequent your coffee
And,
shop.
yeah,
You're
about
all
20
you're all fuck the police then.
Yeah.
Well, no. I love the Popo. I love
Okay,
them. They have a
okay.
great spot. I just, I like to see the brothers win sometimes.
stick
You
to
know,
the
like,
man,
I'm like,
Roger.
woohoo, you go,
Okay.
dude. Because he's not really hurting anybody. He was just smoking a bowl in the parking
for
lot,
sure,
whatever.
right.
But yeah, about 25 minutes later, here comes the police talking to
Oh,
him
man.
and scoop him up. There he goes.
My older brother was always very arrogant with his marijuana smoking. I remember one of the first times he had come because we were raised a little bit with there's a lot of difference. My brother was raised in California by my grandparents in his teen and later years. I was raised by my dad out here in Arizona by my teen years. So whenever he would come out to visit, my brother always had this penchant for keeping a pipe and a bag of weed in the center console of his truck. Now, my brother had a police radar scanner
Was he from LA?
in his truck. No, Riverside.
Oh.
We're both from Riverside.
Close enough, though.
Close enough. It's about
Because that's the thing in
45 minutes
LA,
away
isn't
or
it?
so, yeah.
Everyone just keeps weed in their center console and just smoke because there's so much traffic.
Maybe now.
I mean,
but
I was gonna say maybe now, but Riverside was like not a part of all that.
no,
kind
yeah, it
of
was, dude.
business
It's affectionately known as Reeferside. Like that was the place everybody.
But
from
when
the
you
I thought
were
there's
growing-
just so
but
much
when you were
traffic that
growing
everyone
up
smokes in
there?
their car.
Yeah,
thought that's just a
I'm talking
thing.
about the traffic aspect. Did you? Because I thought
Oh, you're
Riverside
on, like,
at
the
the
highways
time
and
was
stuff like that? Oh,
vacant of
absolutely.
that kind of traffic at the time. They might be not now.
No, I'd say it doesn't fluctuate. It's not a very big town, so
Right.
it's really just turnover there.
Right. Okay.
But no, my brother, he'd come out here to Arizona, and I remember it was shortly after our my high school graduation. We went to a TGI Fridays to go get drinks. And my brother having this big white Chevy, I'm pretty sure it was a Chevy. It was either a Chevy or a Dodge. But yeah, he's smoking his bowl, and whenever he would hear on his little police radio scanner that police traffic in the area, he'd put his fucking pipe away. My brother's cocky ass, we roll up to this TGI Fridays. He parks right next to a canine unit where the dog was obviously in the vehicle, but the cops were inside the TGI Fridays. My brother whips out his pipe, takes a hit, rolls the window down, blows the smoke at the canine car, setting that dog off like a lunatic, and then he and I both proceed to walk into the TGI Fridays and order drinks.
That was smart.
That's
Well, he
savage.
ordered me drinks, I should say. But we got fucked up at a TGI Fridays.
That's a very good place. The only place better, honestly, for that price is Applebee's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Applebee's, you
true.
get fucked up enough. But yeah, TGI, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
But
a fun time.
we had a couple of rounds of drinks there in front of cops, and I was a minor. My brother had just blown weed at a canine officer.
You were on a
Very
roll, Vince.
cavalier. Only my brother could get away with shit like that.
Speaking of weed,
Yes.
So Matthew and I have talked about this quite often.
I don't know.
On the
I'm not sure if I
podcast.
Don't quote him now.
No, trust me, we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
So Matthew and I, who, and I know I've just said I've recently quit, but I mean, there was a time I was, bigger stoner than anybody, smoking, every day. And
I
shit
wouldn't
like
say than
that.
anybody. When I
Well,
had-
not that anybody.
You were amongst the winners.
I was amongst the winners. Yes,
Yeah.
I was constantly stoned,
Yeah.
100%. But we've talked a lot about how smoking every day isn't necessarily the best thing, right? I mean,
Oh,
we even had a whole
yes.
420 episode
Yes, and we've
about
gotten
it.
a lot of comments about it too.
Yeah, a lot of backlash. A lot of people agree, but a lot of backlash,
Got a lot of backlash
also,
on it.
you know.
Yeah.
So
We
I-
said things like it can make you a little bit lazy.
yeah, basically it makes you lazy and stuff like that. And you being somebody who also used to partake in that, but I know like recently you've kind of stepped back a little bit more
with
on smoking
having
it every
kids
day.
and everything, you can't be stoned because you need to be on top of
Right.
watching babies and stuff like that.
So
yeah.
I'm just curious to get your opinion about that. Is weed something that's okay for people to smoke every day? On
Do you
like,
notice a difference in your life?
yeah,
My ultimate idea when it comes to the things people do every day is, hey, whatever gets you through your day, man. If smoking weed every day gets you through the day that you call life, toke up. As long as you're not hurting anybody, you're not readily hurting yourself. You're
Right.
not doing things like crystal meth or even lesser things
well,
like cocaine.
I'm
and
not
stuff
even
like
talking
that.
about that because I think we can all agree.
You're talking about
that-
the immediate effects of smoking.
Well, yes, I'm talking
marijuana.
about how it affects your. So, like for example, one of the things that we spoke about is if you find yourself, and Justin and I have talked about this as well. If you if you find yourself, for example, suffering from depression or anxiety, right?
Yes.
There are a lot of people who will argue, well, I smoke weed every day because it helps with my depression and anxiety. But my argument with it is if you find yourself suffering from depression and anxiety,
Yeah.
there are things that you can control and things you can't.
Yes.
So the first thing that I always talk about controlling is, well, if you're a stoner every day and you say you smoke weed every day to help with your depression and anxiety, but you still have depression
Obviously,
and
it's not
anxiety,
helping. Yeah.
then I always say, okay, well, the first like two things you can do is change your diet and change your lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
Which I
yeah.
guess would include diet,
Those are just
but,
good things to do
but just in
anyway,
regards
yeah.
to like quitting weed, but there are people who have given me backlash both in comments and then both in like real life about those kind of things of like, well, like you can't say that because it doesn't work for everybody like that. But for me personally,
that's
it was
a
something that
true
didn't
statement,
help
though.
depression and anxiety by any
And
means.
no, and that's why I can understand your position on it, because you personally were not helped with depression and anxiety by strictly smoking weed alone. But when you combined, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but when you combined a healthier lifestyle and healthier lifestyle habits, you
Right.
started to feel like weed was more and more unnecessary. Yes.
It wasn't that I felt it was unnecessary. I never felt it was necessary in the first place. To me, it was always just something I did for the sake
Okay.
of doing it,
Okay.
right? But I was always, it never like helped though, right? If I was having depression or anxiety, smoking weed every day wasn't making me less anxious or less sad.
Then
So I would always argue with people that, hey, if you're dealing with depression and anxiety and you're having this conversation with me of,
Yeah.
I don't know how to get out of it, a lot of the times my first suggestion to people would be, well, why don't you quit smoking weed? Why don't you try the sober life for a little bit and just see if that helps? But I get such pushback from that.
I can
Yes.
I can understand the pushback, especially from somebody who believes that they do need it to get through their day-to-day life. And I can tell you honestly, from my own perspective, I'm not going to try to quote like statistics or facts at you. I'm just going to give you my own personal experience on the matter. When it comes to dealing with anxiety and self-medicating it with cannabis, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to be able to smoke a certain amount of cannabis and be able to remove your emotions from what it is you're actually thinking and what's actually making you anxious. At least in my case, that was what I was able to do, and I was able to be more introspective and take the things that I feared and the things that made me fearful and really break them down and analyze, why did I feel this way?
And weed helped you do that?
Yes, it did.
Interesting.
Maybe it wasn't just weed. Maybe it was just the long nights I spent alone on my porch. Before we had our daughters, I had
Right.
way too much to think. I could sit on my back porch for hours and just stare off into the distance and think, for hours. And I just happened to do it with a bong by my side. So maybe the thoughts and the revelations I had, the introspection that I was given, was a little more profound. But honestly, in all, it has made me a more hate the word, but I'm gonna say it. It's made me a more spiritually aware individual, and you can say whatever you want about the existence of the human soul, but I mean, there's energy, and then there's energy. The soul be whatever you want to call it, ki, chi, mana.
See, and that's the thing.
Resonant harmonic.
You know who talks a lot about those kind of things?
Who's that?
Which cultures do? Cultures where meditation is very
True.
prominent.
Very common.
Oh,
yeah.
like-
Because the same thing that you were achieving by sitting and staring off into the distance, and you just happen to have a bong by your side,
Yeah.
you would have got the same exact revelations and been in that same headspace doing something like meditating or zoning out exercise.
or things.
Ultimately-
This
yeah.
is the thing, dude. I think that especially right now, we're in a very, very interesting part of history that we're living through where marijuana, cannabis, is right on the very cutting edge of about to be legal across the United States.
Right.
Okay, it's
Closer
about
than
to
it's
happen.
been
It's within
in
the next
decades,
5
yeah.
to 10 years. It's happening. You know, we've been saying it our whole life, but it's here.
More and
Yeah.
more people are hit
So
to
I
the fact
think-
that the war on drugs isn't working.
Yeah.
Because of that, because of this cusp we're at right now, we've come so far. There's a huge stigma on saying anything negative about weed right now, because we have to get as much positive information out, man, so that everyone is behind it and we can get it passed through. And then once it's passed and you can treat people like adults again, and people quit going to jail for it and shit, then we'll start to have the conversation about when is too much. You know what I mean? I think
Right,
right now there's just so much of a stigma to say anything bad because we're so close.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I can
And
see what
so
you're
I
saying.
think that's the reason why, if people aren't stupid, people understand that if you drink too much, if you smoke too much, it's gonna impact your life in certain ways.
I understand that on a more like a general level, but the people who are arguing that smoking weed every day, is helping me or is not affecting me in that way,
Yeah.
they're not arguing the fact of, they're not saying, Adam, don't talk like that, we're so close to legalizing weed everywhere. They're saying this is something that I need, this is a necessity within my life.
Yeah,
that
I don't-
But
I
they
have
didn't.
to
They
have.
didn't start smoking because of those symptoms.
True,
They
true.
were already habitual smokers, and then those symptoms started to come.
And that's my argument.
So
my
they're
second
really not
argument.
using it as medicine to help a symptom. It was
Right.
already a lifestyle, and then you developed these symptoms.
Well, and that's my second argument, because I've met a lot of people like that too, where it's
and I'm
maybe
sure
it
there's
could
cases
be-
that are not that
of
way.
course,
But
of
I'm saying the
course.
most part,
But-
people I know.
And it clearly could be coincidence, of course. But there are a lot of people I know who just that. I'm one of those people where I never suffered from depression and anxiety. It was so foreign to me that the day that I had my first anxiety attack or my first panic attack, I truly had zero clue what was happening.
Okay.
It had to click to me of oh, this is what this is. This is what people talk about.
Amateur, your
But-
first
Dude,
anxiety
I've
attack.
been,
It's true,
yeah,
it's
no,
true, though.
no shit. I've been dealing with anxiety really in times that I've gotten really introspective and gone back down to things that I actively remember in my childhood. I was always a scared little kid, dude.
Right.
I was terrified of everything, and I think it was just because
Well, I think everybody suffers from anxiety at certain points in their life because of whatever.
Yeah.
But to have it to a point where you say you suffer from
physically
it.
are in a
It's
a
usually
catatonic
people.
state. Yeah.
It's typically people that at least personally, it's typically people that I know that didn't smoke weed, and then all of a sudden they start smoking weed every single day, and maybe they didn't start having symptoms until 2 years down the line of being a habitual smoker every day.
So
But-
you're saying that habitual weed smoking can exacerbate anxiety and depression?
Yes, or even cause it because of the things that it does, makes you lazy, right?
I know, and okay, I can agree to a certain extent that weed is not for everybody. I've seen firsthand negative impacts of cannabis on first-time users. It ain't pretty. I've seen people empty their guts because
Right.
they can't handle.
As
this
have I.
Yeah,
As have I. Yes.
yeah. We've seen people empty their guts.
But those are
before.
physical ailments. I'm talking about the mental long-term mental ailments that weed could cause.
So I don't
that
think-
I think too many people are ignoring, and it's messing with people's well-being. And the reason why, and you're right, I think it's something that it should be looked at more positively right now because we want it to be.
I'm not saying it
legalized
should.
across the
I'm just saying
country.
that's what's going on.
Right. But at
Also,
the same
weed is
time,
really powerful these days. Dude.
Yeah. And that's just it. I think there's too many people who are ignoring the fact that, like what you said, weed is more powerful these days. We
man.
know that
They
they're
get all the
raising
CBD out of
THC
it.
and lowering the CBD
Which
stuff.
it does make you a side effect from too much THC is paranoia.
Yeah.
It truly is.
So,
I mean, everyone
but the problem
smokes a
is
joint
when you
paranoid.
grow such a
That was
tolerance
the reason
to it.
why I was so hooked on it, was because it was the only thing that eased my paranoia.
No, and I feel you. I'm sure that there's extreme cases on
Yeah.
both sides.
Right.
But
I
the vast
never-
majority of people at some point or another within their experience with marijuana will experience some level of paranoia.
Yeah.
Or extreme bodily
I mean, I know I've
discomfort.
smoked and then gone to like the doctor or the dentist, and that's where it gets me. Because I'm like, oh fuck, they know.
Well,
They
like-
know. They're gonna do a test. They're gonna know.
Yeah.
Well, one example with me, for instance, is just as I was saying, depression, anxiety was very foreign to me. On that level too, social anxiety was very foreign to me. I was always, I mean, you knew me. I was a very social butterfly. I had no problem putting myself into foreign situations and just making it work or whatever. But then when it got to a point where I was smoking weed every day, the paranoia or whatever it is, you go out and all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, I have to act a certain way because I don't want people to know I'm stoned or whatever it is. And I felt like social anxiety, not blaming weed for all of it, but it certainly didn't help matters of all of a sudden having this social anxiety that I never had before and has even bled into after stopping smoking weed.
Again, that was something that put me, because I mean, you remember me. The only time I was really outward was when I was being super aggressive or trying to be like over the top crazy.
Right.
But other than that, I was always a very reserved and passive individual.
But I mean, I would disagree with that though, because if you found yourself at a party where you didn't really know a lot of people, maybe you knew a couple people, you've always been very good about like putting yourself into the situation and talking with people and making friends.
That came with a lot of practice, my friend.
But
practice.
regardless of practice or not, I wouldn't say you weren't smoking weed at that time.
And say,
day.
were you smoking when
but
you
I
were
was
practicing?
in these situations that you've mentioned. Most of the time, and I'd say about 90, if not a little higher percent of the time, there was alcohol involved. So that also kind of helped loosen me, because I didn't really start.
That takes me to my next point. That I don't mean to cut you off, but
No.
The whole point here is, at what point is it become a
too
problem?
much?
When does it become a problem? And-
here's. Ooh,
Well, look,
sorry.
I've always been taught from my dad and stuff that something becomes a problem when you do it by yourself. So whether it be alcohol, weed, even cigarettes,
even
whatever,
masturbation.
pretty much. Well, yeah, masturbation is a big one.
Yeah.
If you do something habitually by yourself, that's when you might want to take a step back and think if it's a problem or not.
Right.
If you find that you only do this thing, whether it be a vice or not, around other people, then it's probably just a social thing, and you probably have a grasp on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, what do you guys think about that? How does that work as a rule of thumb?
I think too much varies on the individual. And for me, when I realized that it was becoming too much, there's a little voice in all of our heads that we can't ignore. And it's that first voice. My opinion, I can kind of agree with your dad on certain instances of his theory. Like when you start doing things alone, that's when it becomes a problem. Yeah. I feel like it stymies from the inside first. I feel like when you first start getting that, should I be doing this? Should I even be doing this right? When you start getting that voice in your head and you can't ignore it anymore, that is your psychology teaming up with your physiology to say, hey, you might want to take a chill pill on this stuff.
But here's the issue.
Some people can ignore it for their entire life.
Yeah. Right.
Some
but
people, it drives them fucking crazy.
Here's the issue I have, though, with this argument that constantly gets brought up of it depends on the individual, right?
Yeah.
So let's take a look at like a drug like Adderall or Ritalin, right?
Okay.
So we know that those drugs really do help kids that have like ADHD, right?
Like real ADHD.
Like real
not
ADHD.
Like you just have a fidgety kid.
But people who take it who don't have that issue, it has the opposite effect, right? It's an amphetamine.
Yes.
So So
it still works even as an amphetamine, but the chemistry of the brain needs.
But that's my point. My point. So when we're saying like, oh well, it depends on the individual. Well, when we talk about Adderall,
Yeah.
right? We don't sit there and say like you shouldn't take Adderall because it depends on or you should take Adderall because it just depends on the individual, because we know the majority of people do Adderall to get a high out of it,
Yeah.
not to help their ADHD. So that's what bothers me with that discussion about weed, because I feel like there's too many people where third-party observations are able to see like, oh, it's an issue, it's affecting you in this way, and we're saying, oh, well, it depends on the individual. But I think there is a very small percentage
Yeah.
of people who do smoke weed. Maybe you're one of them, based off your experiences, who smoke it and it has this opposite effect.
Yes.
So I feel like using that argument in this case is dangerous, because it's making this generalization that
And
everybody's the exception.
That's exactly why I say that it isn't for everyone. Some people who have schizoactive tendencies, if smoking cannabis too long, eventually become full-blown schizophrenic. Like, that is where the whole mythology even took place, was because there were certain people back in the Reefer Madness days who did smoke it and started hearing fucking voices. And the thing is, there was probably more schizoactive individuals back then than there are now, or maybe vice versa. Who knows? But the thing is, we haven't done really enough, if any, long-term testing other than in the last decade on the psychoactive effects of THC on schizotypal individuals.
Right. I mean, true. I mean, to view it from a chemical standpoint of how it's actually affecting
And
your
what
brain.
percentage of people have schizophrenic tendencies?
Well,
I mean,
and
you're talking about
I
a
wonder-
very, very small percentage of the population.
But it's still a
But
sizable,
a lot of the
a
population smokes
sizable
weed.
amount of people, though. But the thing
But that's
is,
the
not in
general. But
comparison
that's the
to
general.
how
like
many of
smoking
those?
weed.
How many of those
Yeah.
people? I want to
Sizable
know.
what? There's 20,000 of them in the country.
Well, that's still a lot of people, though.
There's 400 million people, though.
But 20,000 is, you still can't argue, is a
That's-
lot of people, though.
I could very much argue it that in the scheme of things,
In the
that is
scheme of
not. That's a
things?
drop. in
But that's
bucket.
the
No,
point.
there's probably
It's
more
the
people with Tourette.
generalization
Okay.
problem of you're right. It depends on the individual. But if 98% of people are going to react this way, then that argument becomes
You
null
don't
and void.
design a system around the outlier. You design a system around the average.
Right, and that's my argument. Now, going off of like, let's get off the anxiety and stuff aspect of weed, right? Let's just talk about like the laziness, right? I am somebody who I know that when I smoke,
Which it is literally classified as a depressant. Just saying,
yes.
THC is a depressant.
Again,
It's not a stimulant.
I can't get on board with that. That weed is ultimately what makes people lazy. I feel like, again, if you're lazy, weed's just not going to help.
You think it makes people hungry?
Some people yes, some people no. Because it is used for like things like AIDS. To
But
Then
we
why
have-
wouldn't
but we
it, then
have-
why wouldn't it make
hunger.
some people lazy? Some people yes and some people no.
I'm
Why
not
is
saying.
that? How
Well,
is that-
again,
how could it not just be a
again,
side
I'm not
effect
saying
of it?
everybody. I'm saying in a lot of cases, though. Probably
Even if it's
not.
half, that's a shit ton of people.
That is. Wait, half is a shit ton of people, but 20,000 isn't?
Well, of how much of the system? Half is a percentage. 20,000 is a number. There's a lot more than 20,000 marijuana smokers in the United States. So if half of them experience laziness as a side effect of it, then that's a lot of people being affected.
Again,
let me-
though,
and let me
that's
say
saying,
that-
that's saying that weed causes laziness in almost all cases. though.
Well, but
No,
let me say this though. So I think the times it doesn't affect laziness is when there are things that have to get done regardless. So for example, if you just throwing out an extreme example here, right?
Okay.
Let's say for 5 days a week you work 12-hour shifts doing whatever. Let's say it's the film industry, right? That's usually how it goes. 12 to 16-hour days, 5 days a week,
Yeah.
right? Now, maybe you're smoking weed every single day, right? Well, nobody's going to look at you and say you're lazy because you're smoking weed and then you're going to work on a film set for 12 to 16 hours, right? So you're already in a circumstance where you cannot afford to be lazy. It doesn't make you lazy in the sense of you're going to call up your job and say,
But
you
if
know,
you were on a
I'm too
week-long
high, I
vacation
can't come in.
and you smoke weed,
Or if
more
you're in
than
a
weed.
case where you work from home or you have a part-time job or whatever it is, and you're smoking weed a lot, you might have this aspiration of like, for example, you wake up and you go, okay, here are the things I have to get done. I have to clean my room. I have to do laundry. I have to do whatever it is. I have to pay bills. And then all of a sudden you can smoke a bowl and be like, no, I'm just gonna sit on this couch.
There's comedians who joke that weed has a chemical called fuck it in it.
Yeah.
Like, that's a common joke that, oh man, I caught the fuck it. You know? Like,
Right.
yeah, of course it happens to people. You get the
Right.
munchies. You get a little lazy. Maybe lazy is the wrong word. You get unambitious. You lose your ambition.
Okay, but again, that's not just weed that can attribute to that laziness, because anything that creates a response that triggers that cortisol release in the brain is going to automatically reward the brain with a feeling or sensation of
dopamine.
having a dopamine,
Yeah.
of having achieved something.
Yeah, but
So
masturbating
anything-
doesn't. If you go in your room and jerk off,
How the fuck
then
does
you'll.
masturbation not release dopamine? That's
No, it
literally
totally
like its
does.
prime function.
No, but it doesn't cause you to alter what you were going to do that day.
Bullshit.
If
I
you
have
say,
diverted
I need to
entire
vacuum the
days
kitchen,
around
and you go and
masturbation,
jerk
my
off,
friend.
there's no one who ever, after they jerk off, says, oh, you know, fuck it. I'm
No,
not gonna...
no,
What?
my friend.
No,
I
you go
promise
about
you.
your day.
If I don't fucking okay, here's the thing: when you're married, especially when your wife is with
So
child,
you jerk off and you're ruined for the day. That's it.
No,
That's
no,
it. No, you're not doing nothing else.
No, quite the
Go to bed.
opposite.
Well,
if I don't jerk off at least once before I leave the house, I run the risk of sexually assaulting somebody. I run very fucking hot,
So
my
you're still
friend.
very functional if you jerk off.
I do what I call milking the fucking bull because I have to. Sometimes I don't want to. Sometimes I have to.
but that's
There are
opposite.
So that
certain
just disproves.
instances,
That
though-
totally just disproves the marijuana thing then, because you still get dopamine when you jerk off, and you
When
still
I
get ambitious.
smoke weed, I get very, very ambitious. This is the opposite effect that Adam was talking about, where I have really good experiences with using cannabis, such as right now. Most of the time, my thoughts
I mean,
are
I have seen
jumbled.
it a lot. I have seen him smoke weed a lot.
I
and
have
he
a
is always
little bit of
perky.
ADD to the point where my thoughts become jumbled and my speech becomes slurred and kind of choppy because I can't get thoughts in a proper chronological order to get them out of my mouth in a timely fashion. When I smoke cannabis, you can see, I become more coherent. My thoughts are a little bit more fluid. Sometimes when I get frazzled, my shit goes off the rails, but then I get it back
I mean,
on
But
track.
I
as-
agree,
but-
Vince. I'm just saying, I smoke weed all day, every day too.
But again, it
And
doesn't affect everybody the same
telling
way, my
you.
friend. It doesn't. It just doesn't.
There's got to be an average in there somewhere.
I'm certain there is.
gotta be.
But I'm not. I'm one of the outliers, and you said
Definitely
don't build
are.
a system around the outliers.
But I will agree that if there is a such thing, you are one. Yes,
I
you
believe
are.
in the exceptions that prove the rule, and that's exactly what an outlier is.
Why did you quit it?
I haven't really.
Well, why did you stop smoking it every day?
I stopped smoking it every day because a healthy amount of fear is necessary for success. And
Okay.
if I am constantly sedated and feel, or not sedated, I guess that's not a good word for how my body reacts to THC. But if I am in a tranquil state, I'm not fearing anything. My paranoia is calm and my mind is active and logical. I can't be emotional. When you have a daughter who's almost 2, you need to have emotional control. And that's something that cannabis doesn't do for me, is help me control my emotions. That's something that only really, truly sober and clear-minded me, who's had a proper ritual in the mornings, can actually achieve, is a certain degree of, I guess, emotional control, I guess, isn't a good word either.
That's a really good
when
answer,
I smoke weed,
though.
I become
That's
super
not the answer I was expecting.
logic oriented to the point where it's almost robotic. Emotions go on the back burner because when I smoke, I'm an analytical person. That's the time when I'm crunching numbers and I'm doing shit in my head. I become very, very introspective. So I miss a lot of shit going on around me. When you have toddlers
Do
running
you
around
wish
the
your
house,
kid to grow up to become a marijuana smoker?
whatever makes her happy.
I know, but if
whatever
you could
gets her
choose,
through
if you
her
could
day.
choose yes or no, if you had total power over it, would you want that for her? Would you choose it for her?
If it meant that she didn't live a depressive life, then yes, absolutely. If smoking it meant that she could live a happy life,
What if you didn't know
absolutely.
the ifs? What if someone asked you
You
tomorrow
don't, man.
and
you
you
don't
know
know
the
the
ifs?
ifs. You have, yeah.
So
you
you
have
would
to
go
go
for-
on,
you would
have
gamble
to
for
go
it?
on leaps
But
of
let's
faith.
say let's
You really
say
do.
though that one of your
And
kids.
there are also worse things she could be picking up.
But
True,
let's-
she's not
no,
going to
I
get.
know,
She's
I
not going
know.
to get from me.
And I'm very much being the devil's advocate. I
yeah, no.
endorse marijuana. I'm all about it.
Right.
I'm being the devil's advocate
But
here is all.
But let's say though that one of your kids starts smoking weed every day, right? And they complain that they're depressed and have anxiety all the time. And they are telling you, these kids who smoke weed every single day, they're telling you that the weed helps with it. Would you maybe be the one that suggests like, oh, well, I mean, you weren't high or you weren't feeling this way before you started smoking weed every day. Maybe you should try quitting it. Or would you be like, oh, well, if it does, okay, cool, keep going with
These
that.
are also, if you're talking about kids in the sense of like teenagers, which I hope so. I hope they're teenagers at least.
Of course.
I'm going to let them know, first of all, you're supposed to feel depressive. You're a fucking teenager. It's gonna happen. You're gonna have body
That's
issues.
a very good point,
You're
too,
gonna
on
have
everything.
self-esteem issues
But at the
already,
same
dude.
time, though, I
Okay,
think
okay,
you're okay.
here's-
But I
here's-
think you're mixing up though angst with depression, because I think those are two very different things.
They are, but one is usually a catalyst for the other.
I don't.
Everybody
think so.
experiences angst.
Yeah.
It's a chemical reaction.
Yeah, everybody
Which
goes-
which depression is also, but not everyone experiences
sometimes
that.
angst
Right.
can lead to depression and
Yes.
vice versa, is what I'm saying.
Okay, sometimes. I can say
Okay.
some.
Yeah.
There's got to be cases.
Usually depression can cause angsty acts, or
Yeah, I
angsty
agree.
acts can lead to depressive,
still recording?
depressive tendencies.
Are we good?
So ultimately, I would look at the other factors in my kid's life first. Diet, exercise.
Right.
How much are they getting? Are they getting any? If they're hitting the gym every day with me and they're eating the same things, I'll try to eat healthier, hopefully by the time they're
Right,
teens.
right.
I eat like a raccoon right now. Hopefully by then I'm eating a lot healthier. I'll probably need to, but if they're eating healthy and they're exercising and they're still saying they're feeling depressive and I can't seem to get through to them that, hey, you're a teenager, you're supposed to be,
Right.
then again, as long as their grades aren't suffering, they're not doing anything unhealthy. I don't believe weed to be terribly unhealthy. Alcohol is legal.
I have a
We can go
question.
on for days about that.
And
What's up?
I'm not being the devil's advocate here. I'm actually
Oh, send it,
asking
Bubba.
because I'm curious.
What's
Because
up?
I think you are a good father from what I've experienced and whatnot.
I try to be. I don't. Again,
So-
I can only go off the judgment of others.
For my own sake, because I'm not a father, but I hope to be one day. What, for you personally, what age are you comfortable for your kids to start smoking, if they were to? Like,
If I were to pick,
what's too young?
too young. Too young is anything under 16. Honestly.
I can agree with that. I can
Anything
agree with
under
that.
16.
And then from there, 16 and on, it's all circumstance, right? It depends on the kid and their
Really, truly, yeah.
really truly.
If they're hanging out with the wrong crowd, the grades are shit, no, there's no way in hell they're smoking weed in my house. That's not going to happen. I'm not
For
gonna-
sure. That's
because
just
I can already see the path that's going to go down.
right.
Again, weed can do you favors, or it can just amplify whatever shit personality traits you have. It really
Right.
can. It can
I'm
make
just-
obnoxious
yeah.
people more obnoxious, and sometimes it can make obnoxious people chill the fuck out.
What about you, Adam? What's too young if you had kids?
I mean, so given
And we're saying like health issue, obviously.
right,
aside.
right. I mean, so given everything that I have read about things like weed or alcohol, which is usually what kids are partaking
I do
in,
not
right,
condone
as
kids.
teenagers,
I
right?
do not condone kids drinking. I have such a huge beef with it. I was a teenage alcoholic, people.
But well, and here's my thing. I kind of feel the same way with weed also. Now the reason being is because you're right. Now weed hasn't been around long enough to do these to conduct these like long-term studies of the effect. But what we do know about it is that, and we've talked about this with cigarettes before, that it is not healthy to partake in these things when you're young, like 16, and still developing as an adult.
Yeah.
Because it rewires your brain, right?
It does,
That's why
yes.
kids who start smoking at the age of 14 are more likely to be addicted to it, other than people who start smoking when they're in their 20s, right? So, given those facts, alcohol, I'm with you. I'd be like, don't do alcohol. It's
Yeah.
not going to do you any favors. Don't
don't.
fucking drink
Yeah.
it. But when it comes to weed, I think I would tell my kids, like, look, I don't have issues with weed. Your dad smokes weed.
Yeah.
Like okay.
Were I to not condone it, I'd be a hypocrite.
But I think I would just be honest with them and explain that fact of like, there are things that it does to your brain when you're developing as an adult that may hurt you later down the road. I know I can't stop you from doing it. I'm not with you all the time, but I would urge you to wait until you're at least past 18. to
Yeah.
start doing it or
Absolutely.
to partake in
Absolutely.
it, or habitually even. You know, like I have no doubts they're going to be with
would be
friends on some
similar.
nights.
I would
and
even
smoke,
say
but,
it
but I
just-
would just be honest with them about that. Of like, look, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. But here's why you shouldn't.
crazy radical position. I believe that a clean swap to vastly improve the lives of a lot of people is just, and ATF can do it, just a quick switcheroo, man. You take alcohol, you take weed on the schedule scale, weed being a Schedule 1 narcotic, alcohol being legal, and you just you switch them real quick overnight and don't tell anybody. The next day, alcohol's banned. You can't buy alcohol anymore. Guess what? Weed shops are popping up all over the place. Now all of a sudden, weed is in, and guess what? Everyone will chill the fuck out a little bit. Holy shit!
Either
it's what a
that, or
lot
you'll
of
see
people need.
skyrocketing issues of depression and anxiety with it.
Either that,
You
or
already
that, or
see
that.
that. That's already there.
Right, but I mean that's why I would argue that.
And
I
what's
still,
been
I will
becoming
always,
more
I
common
will
in the
always
last 10
play
years.
Yeah.
devil's advocate in the sense that there are people out there who should be smoking it, whose only reason for not is that it is illegal. A lot of people
There
out
are
there
people
who
out
could
there, you're
actually
right.
benefit, but because of the legal stigma, won't.
Yeah, you're right.
No
there-
matter
I know
how
there are people out
like
there.
shitty their health is, they could suffer from seizures, and knowing CBD can help them and not get high will not take it.
To
because
even
of
further
the
that,
issues.
there's a lot of people who only benefit on it because it's illegal, and that's wrong too.
Yes.
Criminals.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
both
there's-
sides,
on both
the
sides are
extremes,
wrong.
Both
And
sides
that's
of the extremes
and
are
that's
always
you know
wrong.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
even another thing I would say too of people who are constantly smoking it all the time, and we touched on this a little bit, just a passerby comment of what dispensaries are doing now, where obviously people are buying the weed to get high,
Yeah.
so they're lowering the CBD levels in it, which we know helps with depression and anxiety, and they're raising the THC levels, which we know can cause depression and anxiety. So
You want to talk about switcheroos?
well, that's
Yeah,
exactly
no,
what's
You
happening.
sell two products, or one product for the price of two, essentially.
Well, so what I would argue is just like me as somebody, if I ever got to a point, which I kind of am at now, where I'm just smoking like socially or just every now and
That's about where
then,
I'm at,
it's like I would say that every single time I do. Like for example, I smoked last night. I smoked Matt's weed. I mean, do you know the ratio between CBD and THC in the weed that you bought?
There's not a lot of CBD in it, if there's any.
See, and
A
that's
lot
my
of THC in
point.
it.
So it's like I would argue that if you're going to go
I
back
think
and
this
be
one
smoking
is
every day,
It's 22 or 24. It's one of those.
I don't
don't
even
remember.
like they put milligrams.
So
in
at-
the
But
thing.
I would
the
say
it's
I would say at
22%
least like get a
THC, at
1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
that, so that
good
because
stuff,
I
folks.
think that's what's happening too. Is like, so what was interesting about when I smoked weed for the first time with Chris a couple weeks ago, right?
yeah.
Is
Poker?
I don't, but I know there's one
Okay,
right
I need my
outside.
AG.
Yeah.
I'll be right back, boys.
Okay.
I personally
But-
though, like ultimately where I lie on the thing is, look, I believe in God and I believe in ultimate creation of the universe, in a specific design in a specific way. So weed growing out of the ground to me isn't a bad thing. It is a
Right.
tool to be used responsibly, like anything.
No, I agree with you, but that's my
Not in excess.
But that's my argument with the difference in the THC and CBD levels, because when you start fucking with those percentages, you're fucking with how weed should naturally grow, right?
Yeah.
So an interesting thing that happened to me was 2 weeks ago when I smoked weed with Chris, and at this point it had been about a month since
Did he
I had
touch you?
smoked weed. He did not touch me. He would never touch me without my
Show
consent.
him the dog.
And he always has my consent.
Oh, spicy. Leave something in the comments down below.
But anyways, when I smoked weed with him, though,
He will on this one, trust
Oh
us.
yeah.
but when I smoked weed with him, an interesting thing happened to me that was very different than the last time I took a hiatus and then smoked weed.
What's that?
So when I smoked with him, I only got I got really high, but I didn't get like the giggles or the extreme like paranoia, the stuff that you got the very first time you smoked weed, right?
Yeah.
That really just. Now here's what's interesting though. So I took a hiatus once from smoking weed to get a job a couple years ago.
Yeah.
job.
Was not nearly as long as the hiatus I took this time before smoking weed with Chris. Similar situation happened. Chris came over. At this point, I could start smoking weed again. So I took a hit from weed, just took one hit, just like I did with Chris the second time. Now, that time I smoked, this was 2 weeks, not a month.
Yeah.
Now, that time when I smoked, I got the giggles. I got that. I was getting this paranoia of like, oh, people outside are gonna know we're stoned, even though I'd smoked weed in that apartment hundreds of times before. Well, hold on. So the argument I'm making is I'm curious as to what the CBD level was in that weed after my hiatus compared to when I smoked weed with him after the month.
So, just from the small amount of knowledge that I have, I've grown it a couple times, and talk to the people at the pharmacies and stuff, and read on it and shit. So there is more going on in marijuana, in cannabis, than just THC and CBD. They're called isotopes, I believe. I'm pretty confident that's what they're called. And there's like 7 or 9 of them that are in weed. You can actually
cannabinoids.
Maybe that yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Possibly.
I think it's cannabinoids.
They're different chemicals. They're different chemicals going on.
Different psychoactive
and there's a very
chemicals,
popular poster that you can get that shows all of them and it describes what they are.
Yeah.
So THC and CBD are the 2 most well-known and the most prominent, right? But honestly, as a habitual smoker who gets many different strains from the pharmacy, and I can try all the different sativas and indicas, there really is a difference between sativas and indicas. That's not a misnomer. That's a true thing.
Yes.
And there really are differences within the strains.
Okay.
So my personal just guess would be that probably it wasn't CBD that was giving you that euphoria. That truly you had a strain with a cannabinoid or whatever that hit your brain better. It had more CBD plus 2M
something
or
that
whatever it
strummed
is.
the chord a little bit.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
because everyone really does, react differently to those. And it's not to poo-poo. It's really true.
Right. No. And I agree with you. And I'm not discounting that at all. But the reason why I talk about the CBD and THC in this particular instance...
It's just the difference.
The reason why is because when I was growing up and first starting to smoke weed, I did not start off smoking weed every day. It was, I got high, and then maybe I didn't come across weed for another 6 months.
Like weeks.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you smoke again. Now, that went on for years.
Yeah.
For years. Now, during those times, every single time I smoked, I did get the same kind of giggly, the same kind of paranoia that always felt like that first time.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, here's this instance where I take a 2-week hiatus. I feel like that. And then take a month hiatus. I don't feel like that. So I agree that they probably mess with other isotopes and such within the weed, within the marijuana. But being that the 2 major properties that they fuck with the most are CBD and THC, I can't help but to think that maybe that had something to do with it.
So then what you're going to want to do is go down to your pharmacy and talk to your local bud tender and ask them, okay, here's my levels. And they'll find some shit for you.
Well, honestly, what I would be curious in doing is waiting maybe like another month before I smoke again, and then having Matthew go pick up a strain that maybe is like a 1-to-1 ratio
I do
or
not
something like that.
use my given powers inappropriately. I do not share my prescription with anyone else other than people who have the correct Arizona state identification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not that is
Anyone
sad.
who states otherwise is lying.
After going to
But
the
to smoke
dispensary,
like a CBD to like a 1-to-1 ratio and just seeing like, okay, what is this?
Don't
does
ruin a
this
good thing,
affect me
Adam.
Differently?
after going to the dispensary for long enough, and if you try enough strains, you will find the one that hits your levels perfectly.
I see you're going for another brownie there,
Yes,
Vince.
sir. These brownies are delicious, dude.
Well, I feel like after
Almost like the weed made you hungry, huh?
No, a little bit.
I mean, I feel like years.
Side effect of it, huh?
I mean, I feel I feel like years after smoking, though, I've tried enough different kinds of weed, which I'm sure are different types of percentages of whatever in there, to know that, when you start smoking it habitually, it basically just hits you all the same. Maybe one makes you take a longer nap than the other one.
Yeah.
But for the most part...
Oh, you are going to get some flack for that comment. Oh, they're typing right now. Typing right now. You motherfucking cockface fucker, you're wrong. Not everybody.
But it's, I mean, I don't know. I just think that everything done in moderation, and I just think that if you find yourself in a not happy place in your life and you smoke weed every day, I think one of the first steps you can take to fixing that is quitting weed for the time being.
And for the record, I'm one of the heaviest smokers that I know. So
Quitting for no other reason.
definitely being a huge hypocrite today.
Will have a definite impact on your wallet.
Well, yes.
It
Quitting
will.
any
So
vice.
if you don't quit for
I
any
know
other
places got pretty
reason,
good prices, man.
just think of your money. Think of
Just
your money,
saying.
man.
I make it work. I'm a barista. I make it work. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, we all know
Make
that.
tips too.
I do
so-
pretty well, yeah.
But we all know that people with vices, the money isn't. I mean, I used to have my very first roommate I ever had an apartment with. I remember she used to get bothered with me because I was a cigarette smoker, she was not, and she used to not understand how I have any of these kind of money issues, but I was always able to buy a pack of cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
And you, Vince, says as well, Matthew also, you guys as former smokers know
You always have
that
cigarettes.
you
Cigarette karma
always
is
find
real.
a way.
The
Cigarette
best thing is to
karma
have a
is
friend, a
real.
smoking
Yeah.
friend,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then you just work with each other.
Yeah.
How many? I mean, for almost a year,
Yeah, we
you
just
and I
switched off.
switched off. Even times where we both had money and
Yeah.
could have just smoked on our own, we just habitually
Just, okay, I
switched
bought
off.
the pack of cigarettes now.
Yeah.
You know, here
and
it
we
is.
almost did it to make ourselves only smoke a pack a day. Otherwise, we would have smoked 2 packs a day.
There is a level of camaraderie which non-smokers will never know.
Never. You and I met.
Yeah.
And if someone
Yeah,
asks you for a
that's-
cigarette, and they really ask you for a cigarette, and you have one,
People will
give them a
give you.
cigarette.
They'll
Yes.
give you their last cigarette, even
'Cause
if
they know
it
you need it.
inconveniences them, because they know.
Yeah.
Chemically, they're like
Well,
I'm on the level.
and
I'm
either
on.
I know, dude,
and
you
even
need
the
it.
opposite of that, if I ask somebody for a cigarette and they open their pack and there's 2 more in there, I'll immediately be like, oh, never mind, dude.
It's
Don't
cool,
worry
dude.
about
There's
it.
someone else
Don't
with a
worry
cigarette.
about it. Yeah, it's like it's just this automatic thing. There's just as you said, it's a
You know, those are his
camaraderie.
2 breaks for the day.
Yeah.
And, he has and after work, he's going to use his tips to get more.
Yep.
There are also when presented with Adam's situation where you deny, there are 2 types of people. One person who will take it out, light it up, and hand it to you, but you can't deny at that point.
Yeah.
For somebody
it's
who
already
will
lit.
say, "All right, man. Well, let me know if you change your mind." 2 types of people, at least that I've come across.
I will not light it up and smoke it for you.
Yeah, I've never done that either. For somebody light it
Somebody
up. for
lit
them.
it up,
But if
and,
you truly ask me, I will
handed it
give
to
you
them?
one.
but without the masking.
Like, no, if they asked and all they had was their last cigarette, and you denied and said, "No, thanks, man. It's your last one," and they pulled it out, lit it, and handed it to
No,
you.
nobody's ever done that. To
No
me.
one's ever done
Really?
this to me either.
Nobody's
no.
ever
Never?
done that to me.
I'll say, no, it's okay, brother. I'm going to get more or something. And they'll go,
Yeah.
are you sure? I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they'll,
That's
they'll
usually
always
the
end up
conversation
taking
I
it.
have also.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they'll
No.
usually ask, do you have a lighter? And I'll do the old, oh, you want me to smoke it for you too?
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
we'll part ways.
Oh yeah.
It's a whole
little,
process.
That always happens.
the little nuances in smoker culture are there, man, and
Yeah.
they're weird.
Well, and that's why I've
They're
always.
great though, man. They're great.
They
There's a
are.
level of camaraderie.
How many friends have you made simply because you were a smoker on a break?
Many. And
Many.
some of the most
Throughout your life?
interesting conversations I've ever had in my life
We're on a smoking break.
with some of the most interesting people I've ever met were on smoke breaks on the
Yeah.
night shift at Walmart.
Right.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Not
That's
the salt
one
of
of
the
the
earth.
best
we're
parts of
we're
smoking.
talking scum of the earth.
That's
I
why
love
they
them.
say it's
Love these people.
cool to smoke. That's the whole thing of being cool. It's not that you have like a leather jacket on and you're in a Mustang smoke. That's not that kind
No.
of cool.
You are now
It's
a
socially
brother.
cool to smoke.
You are
Yes.
in
It
a you are
is.
in a very stigmatic like fraternity basically.
Mm-hmm.
You are akin to like bikers who walk around wearing their riding gear.
Right.
You look like a specific
And there's
type
different
of
levels.
person.
In the beginning, like the kids, not the kids, but like the teenagers and the young adult, they'll do things like if they're out, they'll go find, the ashtray and get the halfies and reburn
Right.
and stuff. Once you get older, you start to learn how to pace it, so you never have to do that.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you're basically driving a Lexus in the smoking world, where
Right,
you always have a
yeah.
pack of cigarettes on you. You're good to go. You buy them 2 at a time because it's $1 cheaper.
Yeah. Well, and
You learn.
I've given cigarettes to homeless dudes who were sitting there scrounging around picking up cigarette butts at like parks.
yeah,
yeah,
you're
they'll
just
do
like,
it.
dude.
I'm like, no,
here.
I can't sit by and
They'll
watch
take and
that.
re-roll it.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah,
But-
no, those are
Horrible.
the worst.
But
I,
the-
I did one Frankenstein, which for you non-smokers, it's hopefully a lot of you smokers out there don't know about this. But
Everybody's done it. Vince.
Everyone's
we
done
all
it.
know what
We
it
all
is.
know
you
what it
take
is.
leftover cigarette butts from the ashtray. Some people are gagging already at the very thought of that. Which, trust me, when you're on a nicotine fit, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
You'll
So
gag. You'll
You
gag.
gather them. You will. You'll gather them. You'll roll them up. Each individual. You'll squeeze out the last bits of usable brown tobacco. You'll try to get all the burnt black stuff off first.
You try to kind of flick it a little, but you don't want to flick it too hard because
Yeah.
then you lose some brown.
But it smells like ass.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
it's the worst smelling thing ever. And it's about 4 or 5 different types of cigarettes.
And you
so it's
re-roll it
gonna-
into a rolling paper.
rolling paper, and you smoke it. And you cough your face off.
And you don't have a filter.
Yeah, no filter.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're lucky, and like, because my dad used to roll his own cigarettes, so they're just, I would have filters sometimes.
Oh,
I'd be
that's
like,
not so bad.
Yeah.
Some of
You
those
know.
are actually okay.
Those were a godsend. But no, most of the time you're right. It was just the zigzags.
You just go for it.
Yep, your roommate Ziggy's.
It's rough.
But I've always told people when, like,
Or the bugle, the
The
boogles.
bugle.
I like those because they're
yes.
thicker.
I used
Yeah.
that's what I used to roll. I used to
use
roll my own
the
little
little
bugles.
blue package.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
had the green one because that was a menthol bugle.
Oh,
smoker.
why would you want mint with your cigarette?
I love menthol,
And
man.
for all you menthol people out there,
Yeah.
stop it.
Stop.
Just
No,
stop
we
it.
stop.
It's horrible.
Can't
It
stop,
is.
won't stop.
Oh,
Oh, man, no.
I've never ever liked it.
Pall Mall menthols got me through some really rough times.
no.
Nope. Even in my cocaine days. No, thank you. It's disgusting.
They were cheap, they were good,
horrible.
they were smooth, and in Arizona, smoking something cold was like life or death.
God, they
But
burn and
that's
yuck.
always been my issue though, especially when I'm trying to like quit smoking, is just as you said, it's the camaraderie. It's like I'm going
Yeah.
to miss smoking, you know, and not only just for the nicotine aspect of it, but when you're at a party, like I cannot tell you how many times cigarettes have been a godsend when I go to a party and I like don't know anybody, and then you go on that back porch and maybe you're the only one out there and you light up a cigarette, then somebody else comes on and goes, oh thank God there's another smoker here, and boom, you've made a friend of the
Have you
party.
ever had a pretty girl come up and ask for a cigarette,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, yeah.
all of a sudden you're talking to her?
Yep.
And there's the conversation. And
Yep.
she didn't even really want one. She just wanted to talk to you. It was
Right.
the starter. you
Right,
know?
of course.
The
you know.
catalyst, so to speak.
But I mean,
yeah.
but I mean, fuck. If it weren't for cigarettes, Vince would have been sitting next to us right now.
Yeah, that was the first thing he asked me, man, was, you have smoke?
Like, and then all of a
here
sudden
we
we
are
hung out more and more because
What
it was like,
flavor is
hey,
that,
let's.
Vince? That's very aromatic.
This
it's vape.
Watermelon?
No, it's.
Are you sure?
Speaking of which, I'm gonna go
Do you
grab
think it
my.
might be
I
watermelon?
think it
juicer.
might be a little. I think it's
there
watermelon,
some watermelon in it?
blueberry, and menthol.
There's watermelon in that.
Yeah, it's called Blastoids.
So you know what I nickname watermelon?
What do you nickname watermelon?
It's death melon. Do you know why I call it death melon?
Because death water?
No,
No,
because I'm allergic to it.
you're allergic to watermelon.
I'm allergic to all melons
All
and
melons?
bananas.
And bananas?
Yeah, bananas.
Are they
fuck me
related?
up. The only thing I can think is they're like considered tropical fruit. I guess they grow on an
Oh
island.
wow, you're so cracker. You can't even eat like tropical.
Can't eat tropical fruit. I can do kiwi and strawberries and shit. Melons, cantaloupe, pineapple,
Nothing.
bananas. Fuck me up. Dude, I used to drink I got on like a little health kick for a while and I tried to drink those like nakeds. You
Oh,
know?
yeah, yeah.
So I had
Oh,
this
God,
one I had
yeah.
the green one, right? And I was like, fuck yeah, there's like garlic and kale and all kinds of gnarly shit in it, but it tastes good, right? It tastes
Yeah,
really good.
yeah.
And I was drinking this shit
Yep.
and I drank it all day long, right? And like about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, dude, my stomach started fucking hurting. But not a stomach ache, bro. I'm talking about physical pain inside my stomach.
Ew.
I was like, oh, fuck, what is happening? And it like, I could feel it like going through me. It was like working its way through this like pain.
Yeah.
And what it was, dude, I read the fucking back of the thing and it has banana puree in it.
Yeah,
And
man.
I went to the store and looked, and every single one of those motherfuckers, all the flavors have banana puree. That's why they're so good.
So you're like damn near lactose intolerant.
Dude,
then,
it was
level with
inflaming my
bananas.
fucking guts as it was passing
my
through.
God.
It was about 2 hours of literal torture, dude. It was horrible.
I even worry about people who are lactose intolerant because God, I love cheese.
I don't worry about it that much.
Oh man, but bananas? No, my household wouldn't be able to survive without bananas.
Oh, dude, bananas fuck my shit up.
I
You want to
think
see a
I'm-
grown man cry?
Oh, jeez.
Feed me banana.
I think I might have a little bit of an allergy to bananas because whenever I eat them, I get scratchy in the back of my throat.
Oh, that's how it started.
Yeah,
That's how it started when I was a
That's how it
kid.
started? Oh,
that was my
fun.
childhood.
Oh, fun.
When I used to eat them anyway and say, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look out in about 10, 15
Can't
years,
do
bro.
that no more,
I'm
yep.
gonna mess you up. Yeah.
Oh man.
And the ironic part is I love bananas. They're so good. Oh, it's my
Either
favorite.
cheese or potatoes. If I became allergic to those tomorrow, I would honestly.
Those things
consider
are really
taking
good
my own
together.
life. Oh, I know.
The only thing that makes either of those better is the other.
Oh yeah. What? We got all this cheese, man. What are we gonna do? Do we have potatoes?
Potatoes.
Yes. Or
Fuck yeah.
we just got all these French fries. What could make them possibly better? We got all this cheese.
Cheese.
Yeah, no, cheesy fries are the best. I might pick up some cheesy fries on the way home.
Oh, cheesy fries sound good.
Yeah, they do.
Adam,
Fuck.
say something profound.
So, you can't just put me on the spot. The profound
We
thoughts
Just
don't
make
come
us think.
on
Just
the-
make us think. You
on
always do it all the
spot.
time.
Okay, so a man dies. I'm gonna tell a joke. So
Give it a chance, Vince.
a man dies and goes to heaven.
Okay.
And he says, God, do you want to hear a Holocaust joke? And God goes, sure.
Oh, of course.
So the man tells his joke, and God goes, I didn't really find that funny. And he goes, guess you should have been there.
Damn.
Oh, that was a little deep.
Doesn't that joke have a
Damn.
lot of layers?
Damn.
Isn't there a lot of layers to
That's a
this joke?
sassy joke.
You got to be an
That
owl.
joke had some stank.
You got to be an owl with a mortarboard on to get that joke. That's
that
such
was
a
a
smart
rough one.
joke.
That was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I liked it. Ballsy.
Yeah, there was somebody told
Tell
that
us
to
what
me
you think of
once.
the
There's a lot of
comments
people who
below.
just fucking turn the podcast
There
off.
was so my brother told me that joke, right? And like it was
course he
one
did.
of those like I chuckled at first and then all of a sudden it just like sunk in.
you're like,
and Thomas goes, yeah,
yeah.
a lot of layers to that joke, isn't there?
You got to think for a second.
That gets the gears turning. Yeah.
Shit.
So how's that for you for a profound?
Well done, Adam.
Solid. Very
Done.
solid.
You nailed it.
You were pretty timely with that too. You didn't need a moment to think. You were just like, say something profound. Okay.
Like, all right, let's
And then he
fucking
said
do
the
this.
first joke that came to his head just so happened to be
So speaking of
about a dead
Have you been
Nazi.
practicing your dad jokes?
Oh, dude, I've been trying to keep it sharp.
I feel like
They're
you're the
not
guy
quite-
who has the dad jokes.
They're not quite there at getting them yet.
Do you know the brown pants, the captain in the brown pants joke?
Abso-fucking-
Because you know that one. Every
Oh, dude,
dad
that-
knows that joke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One of my personal favorites was this one right here. Okay.
Do it.
So, two guys go walking through the woods. They're on a hunting trip. Both of them armed. They're walking through the woods, and then all of a sudden, one of them hears a noise. So he whips around real quick, and his finger accidentally hits the trigger, and he shoots his buddy in the leg. So his buddy's laying on the ground bleeding, screaming. The guy's freaking out. So he's like, all right, I need to call 911. So he whips out his phone real quick, dials 911. 911, what's your emergency? Help! I just shot my friend. I don't know what to do. I think he's dead. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. The operator says, okay, first thing I need you to do, sir, is make sure he's actually dead. Quiet on the phone for a moment. Blam! Picks up the phone. Okay, now what?
So that joke didn't that joke pretty much essentially actually happen with like a vice president or something at
Oh,
one
Dick
point?
That was Dick Cheney.
Wasn't that a
Yeah.
thing that
You know
didn't he
the-
actually shoot his friend in the face?
He shot someone. Yeah, it was birdshot too. The guy
He fucked him up.
not only lived but wanted a picture with him after it. I'm not
Of
kidding.
course. Well, of course you want to.
Well, you probably-
Who else but Dick
Animals
Cheney?
want pictures with the people who
for the
shoot
man
them
who's
all
going to
the
pay
time.
you for the rest of your life.
That's how they're always Fuck yeah.
Oh, it's flowing now, folks.
Oh god. Oh lord.
That one just came to me.
Yep. Okay, another hunting trip story. So two guys are walking through the
God.
woods on a hunting trip, both armed to the teeth. When one of them turns to the other and says, "Hey man, I gotta go take a shit." So the other guy says, "Okay, hurry up." A couple moments later, the guy hears his friend shuffling his pants down and, hears the unmistakable sounds of a man defecating. Then all of a sudden, he sees his legs tense up and panic. The guy turns around from the tree and goes, "Hey man, I didn't bring anything to wipe my ass with." So his friend turns back around, not wanting to stare at his friend while he's doing his business, goes, "Dude, just pull out your wallet and use $1. So the guy goes, "Oh, it's a good idea. I didn't think of that." Turns back around. His friend comes walking over, and he's just got shit all up his arm, from the tip of his middle finger to the crest of his elbow, just covered in feces. And he goes, "I thought I told you to use $1. He goes, "I did. 3 quarters, 2 dimes, and a nickel."
That one kind of went over my head. I'm not quite sure.
He used
Wipe
the
your ass with
change.
$1.
He
He used
wiped his
coin
ass with the
change.
coins.
He used coin change.
Oh my gosh.
I
spare
love
the
the brown
viewers, spare the
pants joke.
viewers.
I'm so glad
That's
you
enough.
brought up the brown pants joke, Matt, because that was one of my favorites. That
That's
was
a
one
great
my
joke.
dad told at the dinner table.
That joke's all about the delivery.
Slayed, yes.
You have to deliver it.
Oh yeah, you have to
fuck
do
it
a
up,
voice
it's
for the.
over.
You have to do a voice for the captain, and it's a very specific captainly voice.
You have to roll your
I
R.
don't-
Bring me my brown pants.
I don't think I've ever heard it.
Okay, so
You're shitting me.
rock paper
Dead
scissors
serious.
on who's gonna tell it.
Never heard it.
Best
All
2
right.
out of 3.
All right, let's go.
It's
It's
rock,
1,
paper-
2, 3, shoot.
Shoot. Yes, thank you.
All right,
You're
ready?
a smart person. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Matt's got it. All right, send it, Bubba.
Okay, so I hope I don't fuck this up.
If at any time you want to tap out, let me know.
He's thinking about the joke right now, ladies and gentlemen.
He's
telling it in his
yeah,
head.
He's getting it. He's getting it.
I
Working
forget
our
what the
way up to
second
it.
thing is. I know there's the red vest, and then what's the second thing?
Oh yeah, I definitely have not heard this joke.
You haven't heard this one?
No.
Okay.
Let's get me my red vest. He doesn't
First,
say.
it's the red vest.
Is it the red vest again?
It's no.
I think it is with the fight. Okay, all right.
right,
So
all right.
there's where he's gonna be English this time. There's an English captain, right?
Okay.
And he's out and he's got fucking the biggest galleon in the ocean, right? He's a badass. He's got this huge
Only the
crew.
Spaniards had galleons, but all right for.
It's an English
Sake
galleon.
of the
It's an English galleon. And so he's floating around out in the ocean, and all of a sudden, his lookout calls out. He says, "Captain, Captain, there's an enemy ship on the horizon." And the captain looks up and he yells out, "Bring me my red vest." And the guy, the squire, fucking runs over, gets his red vest, brings it to the captain. Captain puts it on, and they engage the enemy ship, and they fight all afternoon, and they're victorious, right? He doesn't lose a single man. Enemy gets wiped out, they take the ship. They say, "Man, Captain, you're a badass. Right on, right on." So, goes back to normal. Next day, fucking lookout. "Captain, there's 2 enemy ships on the horizon." And again, the captain says, "Bring me my red vest." Brings it to him, puts it on, fucking whoops ass, dude. Doesn't lose a single guy, right? Enemy gets slaughtered. Okay? 2 days go by. Captain's chilling. Doesn't think much. All of a sudden, his squire comes up and he goes, "Hey, Captain, these last 2 battles, man, we kicked ass. But before the battle, you asked us to bring you your red vest. What's up with the red vest? Is it lucky? Is it?" And he goes, No, it's not lucky. He says it's red. So if I get wounded in battle, my men won't see the blood and they'll keep fighting on. He goes, "Whoa, Captain, that's badass. All right, we'll follow you anywhere." So that afternoon, the lookout, he yells, "Captain, there's a dozen enemy ships on the horizon." And the captain jumps up and he says, "Bring me my brown pants."
Yes.
Well, now I have heard.
You've heard the brown
brown.
pants joke.
Although
yeah.
after the first comment of bringing my red vest, I was able to call where it was going. But I'm glad I got to hear it in its entirety.
See, when you're
now.
a kid, you're like, "What's the brown pants for?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yep.
Explain it to me. So let me explain to you the kind of jokes my dad did to me, because there
Okay.
weren't dad jokes. So my dad one day told me to this fucking cat, and it's meowing.
Like
Adam's cat's in
crazy
heat. It's
outside the
fucking
store.
disgusting.
Well, at least my cat's only.
My cat never
sometimes
does
in
anything like
heat.
that.
His cat's the horniest cat.
This
it
cat
just likes
is
to
like-
be
She's
heat
beauty.
all the time.
She's like
born
twerking
beauty.
against this door right now.
I'm sure she is.
Yeah.
But anyways, so one particular thing my dad did to me when I was younger was he called me into his room and he was on his computer and he goes, "Adam, come here. I need to show you this." And he goes, "Read this here." And it was this like article about like a ghost sighting that was caught on video.
Yeah.
And it was about this. Yeah, you know what's
I
happening.
know what's happening. Yep.
So, but the setup to it,
yeah.
my little fucking 13-year-old mind didn't know what the fuck was about to happen. So I read this article and it was talking about how these filmmakers were filming this car commercial.
Yeah.
And as they were filming, and part of the commercial, there was a car that was just driving through some like greenery, right? And they said that in the commercial, or during this footage, if you look at the very front of the car as it's driving and passing through the greenery, you can see this little apparition showing up and starting to follow the car.
So you can
along
lean
with it.
real close to your monitor.
So my dad, I read this long article.
I know it's about to happen.
Oh, yeah,
And
you remember.
And it even said in the
There were a
article
bunch of
too,
these.
they go, here's the video. If you put your headphones on
Oh,
and listen close and turn up the volume all the way,
not headphones.
you
these speakers.
can even hear one of the filmmakers like say something like, oh shit, or say something in regards to this apparition. So I'm like reading this, I'm really into ghosts at this point,
yeah.
right? So
Okay.
I'm like, all right, yeah. My dad's like, yeah, dude, it's fine, it's crazy. So
What a dick.
so he puts the headphones on me. I'm sitting in his chair, and I get up really close to the screen so I could see this, and it starts playing the commercial, and you see this car come from around the hill, and it's playing this like da 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 da
Luring you
music
into
in
a
the
false sense of
background,
security, yeah.
and all of a sudden it starts to pass by the pointed symbol, and you can see this apparition. So I'm just getting super close to the screen now and watching, and then all of a sudden, this like demon fucking face comes on the screen. Dude, I fucking fell back in my dad's chair. I tore out his headphone wires because I fell back so hard. And I literally was just on the floor, and I like did one of those like scoot yourself
God.
back really quick. with the headphone. And my dad is just laughing his fucking
Oh,
ass
beautiful,
off.
beautiful.
That's amazing.
You got dad jokes. I just got those constantly.
You just got
Oh,
traumatized.
make no
Yeah, I
mistake.
just got traumatized.
My dad was a huge fan of the scare pranks. Make no mistake. He didn't do it on a digital platform. No, my dad
Right.
was a scary and intimidating individual, so he just could do it in real life whenever he wanted to.
Aw.
One particular instance I'll refer to was the first time he ever took me driving. And at this point in time, he had a little white Ford Focus. It was like a 2002 or something like that. But it was a 2002 Focus. This wasn't in 2002. I would have been 12. No. So I was about 15 or 16 when he did this. He comes into my room, and he opens my door really aggressively. My dad was a guy who was prone to anger if you upset him.
What year were you born?
1990. 29.
Whoa.
What?
You're only 2 years older than me?
Yeah.
How
Are
old
you
do
you're
think he
27?
was?
I thought Vince was like,
Like
I know,
Justin's age?
well,
Oh no, bro. No,
I thought
no.
Vince
There's
was
still
like-
a 2 in front of
I
my
thought
age.
Vince
for
was
No,
us.
I
older
went to
than
high
Justin.
school with Vince. That's how we
what
met.
month?
January.
So he's turning 30.
Yeah.
So you're almost 3 years older than me.
When's your birthday?
November of
November.
92.
92. So yeah, damn, like 2.5. Yeah.
I thought you were like 36, 37.
Oh wow.
Thought you were closer to 40.
No, see, this shouldn't surprise me, but again, like Adam, I thought I was past this point in my life. Growing up, everybody always thought I was older.
Well, because I knew you were in the military.
Yeah.
And so I thought you had like a whole military life, and then you met your wife, and then you did that for a while, and then you
No,
now had
I
kids.
did all that
is,
shit
like-
in like the span of the last
Ah.
9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I've been living life
Okay.
rapid, man.
Good to meet you, Vince.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, no, man.
Yeah, dude, he was just a grade above me in high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vince is not that old, folks.
Yeah.
I told you guys.
I tell you what, though, what you said about the military lifestyle, that shit will take the piss out of you. It really will. It'll age the hell out of you. It ages you really ugly sometimes. But yeah, no, man.
And what'd you do? You blew stuff up or something?
Tanks.
Oh,
So,
yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I drove
blew
tanks.
shit up.
That was a lot of fun. Oh, man, we had some good time tanking. But yeah, no, man. After my, I only did 1 term of service, but just after that short period of time, I was like, oh my god, you know.
I'm done with this.
Which
was so
already
funny
walking around
because-
with crappy knees.
Which was
and
so
stuff,
funny
like,
because growing
creaking.
up with you, I remember the plan was always like career. You know,
Yeah.
you want to do career military
Yeah.
life, and then I remember actually being kind of shocked when you were like, "Nope, after the 4 years, I'm done."
Yep.
You know.
Yep. I just There was a lot to the lifestyle that I already didn't agree with on a fundamental level, and then
So we've been using Adam's credit card to
yeah. So
pry these brownies
Yeah.
out of this tray, and
We-
I'm
yeah.
starting to get a little worried that maybe we've
I never.
he's given us an inch and we've taken a mile.
I never used that credit card. So
I think that's why he gave us the card. I don't think he would have given us his whatever. Are you with Chase?
Yeah.
I don't think
you
you would
wouldn't
have given us the
wouldn't have
Chase
given
card.
that one.
Yeah, no.
No,
So I think-
I've literally never used. I literally so what they're using is a Nordstrom credit card, and the only reason why
The number on it is no.
But it's funny. The only reason I have this in the first place is because when you're at work, they urge you to open these, right?
Yeah.
That's like one of the things you get graded on. So at the time, Justin was working there, and he was being, by his bosses, like, you need to open these credit cards. So he was just calling all the people he knew and was like, open this. And I just happened to get accepted for one.
Justin once actually intimidated me into buying a mascara because he had a quota of mascara to sell within like 2 weeks. So I bought one, and I think it's still in my closet. I'll never use it.
Did you really?
What
I did.
degree of intimidation
Yeah, how did he
was
intimidate
used?
you to buy a
Yeah.
mascara?
I don't really want to talk about it.
Oh man,
But
where did he touch you? Show me on the doll.
yeah.
I have a mascara if anyone. It's very black.
Very black.
I never knew he got you to buy a mascara from him
I bought a
during
mascara.
Mascara Madness.
It was $60.
Oh my
I
gosh.
regret it every day.
I'm still trying to think of what situation could have occurred where you were. I don't think
He
it
got
took-
me to do it, Vince. Let's
I
not
don't.
talk about
I don't
it.
think it was intimidation at all. I think he just asked, and you were more than happy to oblige because you're a good person.
You don't know me very well, do you?
No, I don't think because I saw some twitching happening there. So.
I have Tourette's, Vince.
Oh shit!
I do really. No, I truly, really do.
realistically.
I really,
Okay.
honestly,
Okay,
realistically
shit,
do.
man.
Yeah, that's the twitching.
Okay. Well, shit. Now that's out
I had
there.
to go shut up the cat. I'm back now, though. I know I didn't harm it that bad.
I always thought you were
okay?
joking whenever you said that, man.
Yeah, I'm
Okay, my
fucking with
bad.
you. I don't have it.
Man, all right, no, I can't.
No,
this
Vince,
fucking guy.
literally, seriously, I,
I don't
swear
really-
to
I don't know
God.
what's real and what's not
honestly,
most time.
honestly, I do have it. I really do have it.
He does have it.
I do have it.
But you
You
want
let me believe what I believed about espresso powder.
This time I'm not joking, Vince. I know I've cried wolf.
But you want to know.
But-
but what's funny though is, so I used to think I was, maybe not the most observant person in the world, but observant enough, right?
yeah.
So here's a few situations that say Adam is not observant at all. Situation number 1. Matthew was living with us for quite some time before I found out he had Tourette's.
And I'm
So,
pretty open and vocal about
one
it.
of his one of his tics this is how I found out. So
Oh, God, yeah.
one of his tics at the time was to breathe through his nose.
It was this. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was
okay.
doing that.
So you see what it sounds like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I've heard you make that sound before, which is
Sounds
always
like someone's
either-
kind of heard something funny, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we
Or
would
either that or
be-
you got something in your sinuses.
Well,
Yeah.
we would be watching some random thing on Netflix, and he would be constantly making that noise. So I'm thinking he's finding something on the TV humorous enough to scoff at.
Yeah.
And I didn't think anything of it. Just every single time he did it, I would hear it, and I'd be trying to wrap my mind what just happened that he found
What is he so
humorous in
funny
this
about?
World War II documentary.
It
Whatever.
was like 6 million Jews
Yeah.
died.
20,000
whatever
men
it
died at the
was.
Somme that day. He's
And
just
then, and then eventually, we were all, I think we were all on the couch one day having a conversation about it. I found out he had Tourette's. I told him, I had no idea. Situation number 2. I was at work one time.
Fuck,
live,
sorry.
man,
So
live.
when I worked at the E-Bar, obviously we got a lot of employees from actually inside the department store who would come in and get their coffee, right? Well, one of them was this young lady that worked in Justin's department at the time, and she came in and always got her drink, and I always made it for her. I had conversation. She was English. She had an English accent.
Yeah.
I don't think she works there anymore, but she and I would help her out, whatever. Well, then one day, Justin's talking about her, something unrelated, just about work or whatnot.
Yeah.
And talks about, I don't know how she does what she does with one arm. It's just crazy.
Oh!
And I'm
Wow.
and I asked Justin, I go, who has one arm in Nordstrom? And then he tells me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Holy shit.
no, she doesn't. And he goes, yeah, she does. I go, Justin, I've been making coffee for this woman for 6 months. You're telling me now there's an entire fucking limb missing?
Is this a recent thing?
I have just, And I go like, what? Like she just like she's like missing half. Like there's a nub or something. He goes, no. From the there was no arm for the shoulder. She was just born without it. It was just a birth defect.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Like I was so fucking like, how the fuck did I miss?
An
Somebody's
entire limb,
arm
yeah.
missing from their body who I've been helping every single day
That's pretty
for 6
badass.
fucking months.
Oh man.
And so after that, then with like Matt's Tourette situation, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, well, clearly I'm just like, how many things have I not noticed?
Oh,
Did one of my girlfriends not have legs and nobody just fucking like, what the fuck am I missing here?
Not as bad as an arm, but I worked at a Starbucks for a while, and there was this super hot chick who worked there. I guess I won't say her name, but she was super, super hot, right? And she would always wear these like spandex pants and bend over to get the milk, and it was great, right? So that's like my memories of her, okay?
Right.
So she leaves Starbucks. And I'm talking about her one day with the people, and I'm like, yeah, remember blah, 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 she was super hot, blah, blah. And they go, whoa, 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 what? And I'm like, yeah, she was like really hot, right? And they go, the one that was missing her front teeth? And I was like,
You fucking what?
what? I don't remember that at all. And she go, yeah, not just the two. She was missing all 4 of her front teeth, the top and the bottom, apparently. And listen, this was verified by like multiple people.
Right.
They were all like, yeah, Matthew, she had no front teeth at all. And I was like, apparently I never looked at her mouth. Because I don't remember that part of her.
It's so weird the things that like just go over some people's heads sometimes. You know?
I've got a friend who he ain't got. He's at our age and he ain't got no fucking teeth. Like he is completely mush mouth.
Dude, I came really close
He doesn't.
to losing all my teeth.
Yeah,
He
you
doesn't.
did.
He's not
Adam
even-
watched one literally fall out of my face.
I did. We
I
talked
took a
about
bite
the
and some
podcast
food,
with
and it
that.
literally fell out of my mouth.
Jesus.
A molar. I still have the hole.
All right.
Yeah.
Good times. I have half of mine falling apart and one of the back ones, but that
It'll
one's
fall
been
out
falling
eventually.
apart. It's been falling apart in slow motion for years. Trauma. Do you mind?
Oh, I don't mind at all, my friend. Here you go.
Thank you.
Please partake.
But
If you need a poker, I have it here in my brown.
I have a little. Adam knows this about me. I don't think we've ever had this conversation before, but up until recently, I was made very, very uncomfortable by deaf people. I don't
Yes,
know.
I remember that
do
weird,
not-
Like people who aren't alive. Dead
people. No, deaf with an F.
Oh,
Yeah.
like can't hear.
Yeah, like
Oh.
cannot hear.
All right.
There was
That's
just
what dead
something.
people can make you uncomfortable.
It made. I don't know why. I have no explanation. I've never been able to garner.
That's
like,
weird. Cool blind people though. Blind, no problem.
Blinds, whatever, but deaf for some
Deaf
reason
just
freaks me
fucked
out.
you
Well,
up.
for you, it was the way they talked.
Mostly,
like-
it was a lot of
Oh.
it was the sign language
Okay.
too. Like
I won't judge.
Yeah.
The
So
sign language?
when I
What's
started-
creepy about what? They get weird with their hands?
yeah, no, I don't know what it is. It's
Like
like, they're
fucking twitching their
conjuring
hands
they're
all quick and
conjuring
shit.
fucking spells. And
Have you ever
shit.
seen Justin? Justin can
Do a good impression.
do.
No, that would
He does
probably-
fake sign language, but it looks legit.
I can.
Vince.
I'll walk out of the room.
It straight up looks like he's really doing
Have
it.
you?
Yeah.
Have you? Speaking of which, I'm segueing here, but really quick. Have you seen this rash of people who've been busted for?
I heard
doing
about one specific.
sign language for public speaking
Oh
events.
yes, I remember
that
when
were
was like a
speaking
thing.
only gibberish.
Yeah,
Didn't know
I've
sign
heard of
language.
one.
There's a rash of that going on.
Literally doing what Justin does.
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
looks legit.
But
it was such a weird thing. To
And then
have, like,
finally, a deaf
happen.
person was like, "They're not saying anything."
well, the
Yeah.
reason I started becoming and kind of acquiescing a little bit of my anxiety to it was I started realizing how many people I interacted with on a daily basis who were deaf, whether they had a cochlear implant or could just read lips really fucking well.
You just walked the.
And
walked
they
the walk of a deaf
walked
person.
around my life, and I never even knew it. And then when I'd say at parties, like, I'm
Maybe they
terrified
were
of
your
deaf
calling.
people. Huh?
Maybe they were your calling, but they just couldn't hear you.
That's some meta shit right here.
That was some corny ass fucking shit.
This is a night for levels. You just reached one. I couldn't hear my calling. It sounded a lot like this. Ah, get away! No, man.
Young, dumb, and full of opinions, ladies and gentlemen.
full of them, chock full of them, spilling.
Sorry, am I sorry about that?
Our cup of opinions
Guess I'll say
runneth
I'm sorry.
over. But I'm mostly good now. And really what broke me and finally got me to the point where I was just like, fuck it, deaf people exist. I had a bud tender at a dispensary that I went to who he had the cochlear implant, but it was only a recent thing. So he still had this really weird way of talking. Sorry, that's a really shitty fucking impersonation of how.
You gotta try to hold your tongue still. Like you gotta try to hold your tongue still. Like
No,
that.
this
That's a
is
little
how
bit
this
more
guy
how it is.
spoke. Like it was very nasally.
Adam can do it. Adam, do it.
But
Go ahead.
This is how we talk when I
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Adam's good at it.
yeah, but
Love
this
you
guy
guys.
like.
You can't hear us, but we love you.
You could tell he was in some speech therapy because he was starting to use his nose a lot, and you could tell he didn't have a good. Anyway, I
Bless him.
digress.
Bless him. He was
I
trying.
see this guy at the mall one day. I'm coming out of the mall and I recognize him, and he's like, "Oh, hey man, how are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm fucking great, dude. How are you doing? It's weird seeing you here." He's like, "Oh, I'm great. I'm just here with my family right now. Then why are you over there?" And I was rushed by a deaf family. A family
all
of
deaf?
deaf people, the wife, the children, they were all
Oh my
deaf.
God, they were producing more deaf people.
There was a family. There was a
Did they
squad.
adopt the children?
No, they
Did
were
they-
no, they
No,
were.
they were
What
the
are
same
the
family.
odds of like you like
But
obviously?
I think
like,
it would literally be a coincidence.
I was gonna say like literally if you're deaf, okay, it makes sense that you would like find love with another deaf person.
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, but I don't
But
think
like,
it's
but then to
anything
have
to do.
kids that are
I
also
don't know that you
deaf?
can be hereditarily deaf.
I don't know.
I've never heard of it. Maybe
Yeah, I
it's
don't
out
know.
there.
Well, also check it out. They were small kids who were growing up with deaf parents. At least the mom was fully deaf. Dad had the cochlear implant, but probably not for long. So like that's how they interacted with their parents.
Oh, so it
Dude.
wasn't that they were deaf.
I don't
it's
know, but that
just-
may have
Have
been.
you got? I heard a story about an old guy who faked being deaf for like 40 fucking years. His wife thought he was deaf, and it was because he didn't want to talk to her.
Wow.
I swear. That was
My
what the story said.
granddad doesn't have to fake it. He does this slick little move that if you watch really closely, you'll see what he's doing. He takes his pinky, throws it back a little bit, like he's digging in his ear. But if you look within his ear, he's got a hearing aid.
He's
He
turning
reaches
that
that
bitch down.
pinky in, and he fucking turns that shit off.
Ah.
And then Charlie Mike's, and then my grandma just continued. My grandma can't hear nothing.
See? Yeah.
The advantages.
Yeah.
Right? No, dude. One thing that I always had this weird like fear of like not enough to get like nightmares or anything, or kind of like with you and like deaf people at the time, but like Muppets, dude. Like not like the Muppets, but just like that kind of puppetry though. Like so
Really?
like Dark Crystal stuff, like all that for whatever reason that shit just always freaked me out. I never
Really?
liked it. I never liked watching it. None of it. The Muppets was probably as far as I went, but even with that, like the very first Muppet movie, or well, he's in a lot of the Muppet movies, but like the big guy that looks like Sasquatch almost
Yeah,
with the big
face.
nose.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Oh wow.
You don't like him?
No, I don't like the looks of it.
I just recently
Yeah.
discovered footage of commercials that Jim Henson shot back in like back in like the 60s or 70s, but before he became famous. Essentially, he pitched commercials to this coffee company with a prototype Kermit the Frog, who was all black and white,
Right.
but you could see the shape and hear the voice. It was like the early rendition of Kermit, but the first commercial I saw, it went like this. A Muppet's walking by, and Kermit goes, "Hey, how do you feel about Wilkerson coffee?" "I've never tried it." Boom! Shoots him with a gun, points the gun at the camera, and goes, "How do you feel about Wilkerson's coffee?"
Okay, so I've seen that.
Like, yeah. What the hell, Kermit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kermit was a lunatic.
So just so you know, I've seen that. That's parody.
Is it?
It's parody.
Oh, God,
Yes.
I had such hopes.
Dude, they had issues.
such high hopes.
They had issues up until the 70s of hearing a toilet flush on cable TV. That was a big deal when the first sitcom did that. There's no fucking Muppet was shooting people.
Well, no, I'm not saying the commercials made it. I'm saying the commercials were made.
No, I think it was parody that was made.
You've
in
heard
our
of Don.
generation.
Well, you've heard of Don Hertzfeldt, right?
No,
Don Hertzfeldt?
no.
Tell me you've heard
I
of
don't know
Don
the fuck
Hertzfeldt.
you're talking about, bro.
Oh my God. Okay, everyone in this room and listening right now needs to do themselves a favor tonight. If you want to watch some crazy, funny, weird, off-the-wall meta cartoons, look up Don Hertzfeldt.
Okay.
Watch everything you see in
They're
black
cartoons,
and white.
though.
They're little cartoons, some short, some long.
Okay.
But Don
As long as they're not
Hertzfeldt.
Muppets.
No, they're not Muppets. They're not
They're
Muppets.
not Muppets.
But in there are some of the commercial ideas he pitched. People, you can pitch commercial ideas.
Right.
They'll get sent back if they're insane, like this guy. Most of this guy's stuff was. Okay, for instance, I'll tell you about the one most commonly known called My Anus is Bleeding. There is a little cream puff.
MAIB.
Just a little simple drawing of a smiley cream puff dancing, saying, "Life is good," and then you see a line of them also dancing and singing, "Yay!" You know, and then it cuts back to the first one, and he goes, "This is fun," and you know the rest of the singing, "Yay!"
Jeez.
And then it cuts back to the first one, and there's red spilling out of this little cloud's asshole onto the ground. And he looks worried and he goes, "My anus is bleeding." And everyone is still dancing and singing, "Yay! My anus is bleeding." And now there's a big puddle forming under him of his
Wait,
own
when
blood.
were these cartoons made?
Had to have been in the early 2000s.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're like more recent. You know what that reminds me
This
of? as
guy
far
essentially drowns in
What was it a
his...
commercial for?
It wasn't a commercial. It was just... This one in particular was just a short
Just
cartoon.
like weird cartoon.
This is just an off-the-wall
as,
cartoon.
you know what that reminds me of from the early 2000s? Maybe one of you guys have seen this. Do you remember Happy Tree Friends?
No.
Okay, so Happy Tree Friends was this... The animation style on it, so they were like these little critters, right? So there was like a bunny, a raccoon, you know, but they're all cutesy and everything. The animation style I can compare it to is like the most recent My Little Pony shit with the brownies, right? So just
No,
very cutesy, looks like it's meant for a kid, right?
Okay.
So, but you watch them and they start off as very cutesy and then it gets very violent and very bloody. And there would be like episodes where, like, perfect example, there's this moose that was just chopping down a tree, just cute little moose chopping down a tree.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden the tree falls and lands on his leg. So
Okay.
he's trapped. But all he has, and he's calling for help, and nobody will come to help him, and all he has is a spoon. Know where this is going now?
Franco made a movie
So
about it. didn't
then
he?
so then you watch this fucking little animated moose taking this fucking spoon and just starts stabbing it into his leg to separate himself from this tree. And you see all the blood that flies out, all
That
the
sounds
gore.
horrible, Adam.
It was called Happy Tree
It
Friends.
sounds like something I would.
It was on
enjoy
Netflix
as
for a little
teen.
bit too.
Okay.
But yeah, it
Remember
was
Celebrity
something.
Deathmatch?
Yeah.
I did
That was
not
good
actually.
shit. You don't remember
Yes.
Celebrity
No.
Deathmatch?
It was on MTV.
MTV with
So
the
it
little
was-
like
it
Barbie
was
doll
clay-
people.
It was claymation.
Claymation,
It was
yeah.
Claymation people. Every
Oh, bro,
celebrity,
you gotta fucking YouTube them and watch them.
Okay.
So it was just what the title was. It was a death match of
Okay.
claymation celebrities. You had Steven Seagal versus like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Every celebrity you can think of was in
Over
there.
the
Britney
top-
Spears
yeah.
versus Christina
Christina
Aguilera.
Aguilera,
right.
Spider-Man versus Batman. Like they got
Even-
crazy.
okay.
There's
Even
hundreds
dead
of them.
people came onto the like dead's like Fred Astaire fought.
And there was
fucking,
like two or three announcers. Like they would be like the dude in a boxing match,
the
you know.
MCs.
And,
Right,
the MCs.
and they were
yeah.
always consistent for the most part. And then there was
Right.
judges, and they were
Uh-huh.
pretty much always consistent.
Marilyn Manson fought Eminem. Like,
But it was
Yeah.
like the
But it
most
was-
brutal, disgusting, bloody, rip your insides out,
claymation too much.
fuck them up horrible, and only one would live.
Like there
They
were
killed each other.
chainsaws rammed through individuals' abdomens. Some people
Like
were
the
like
most insane ways you
hung.
can think to
Yeah.
fucking
Oh my
deathmatch
gosh.
someone.
Yeah. It was the most violent
And
show
that used to be on
TV.
regular TV, guys.
97 on MTV.
my
We grew up
gosh.
watching that.
1997.
So speaking of MTV, that reminds me of something that Justin made us aware of the other night.
I don't know. I've looked further into it. I can't find a
I
single
can't
thing.
find it either. So do you remember the show Next?
Yes, I do.
So according to Justin, he was on that show. He was on an episode of that show
Like
as one of
first
the
season.
people in the bus.
Get the
Like,
fuck out of here.
Yeah, according to Justin.
He says he got nexted in like the first minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have tried looking for this footage.
Yeah.
We cannot find it, but
I can't
to
even find it in writing.
But to be fair, like you can hardly find any of the episodes of Next. There's like a few specific ones you can find, but yeah, according to Justin, he was on Gay Next. one of
And
the
he
first
swears.
Gay
Gay Next?
He even
Yeah, they
remembers
have-
like the
Oh,
line that
okay.
he said and what the people looked like. Like he's pretty adamant.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we haven't been able to find any proof. But
All right.
God, there's something only millennials will know of is that.
So those
show
of you who are
Next.
listening who aren't sure what the hell we're talking about, the
Yeah,
premise
please-
of this
please-
show
Please describe it.
was the most vapid
what was
and
next?
ignorant
you
thing
ever
you could
watch
think
it?
of.
No, I've watched it, but
Right.
like, why would you explain that to someone?
Okay, so
Yeah.
here's what happened. You had one suitor, a male or female, who would introduce themselves as being, super well loved by everybody and just generally all around a really good person
and always looking for love.
and always looking for
I
love.
love people who make them laugh.
Looking for that next hottie to have my arm around. All that stupid shit. So there was a busload of people who were waiting in their queue in line, essentially, to go on these dates with the first person met, essentially. So they would walk off the bus, and they would meet the person. There was usually a hug or sometimes a kiss on the cheek, something, just innocuous, just to introduce, and some stupid cheesy pickup line generally.
Right.
And immediately when they walk off the bus, a timer starts.
A timer starts. So at any point during the date, the suitor can say next, and the person who got off the bus is done. Their time's up. They have to go back on the bus, and then they get to talk shit about everybody else who precedes them.
They get $1 for every minute that they lasted.
Yeah.
That's true. That's right. I forgot about that part.
That's
So-
the whole point.
Basically, the show ends one of two ways. The suitor goes through everybody on the bus and decides they all suck, or decides,
Which is usually what happened.
most of the time, or they would decide on one, and then the person on the bus would get a decision. They either get to take the money from the date, or date this individual, or marry you off.
Right.
You received MTV's blessing.
Spread
Now go
your
into the night and combine.
Going to the night.
So you know how they always had like the quippy little lines they would say to the camera when they got nexted and shit?
Yeah.
Justin says that those are all totally scripted.
I'm
that they
sure
tell
they
you
are.
what to say.
Half those people didn't look nearly that clever. So I watched a lot of that show.
Yeah.
There's a lot of empty heads coming off that bus.
Well, and
Yeah.
you can always tell, like, especially people like you and I with, like, acting backgrounds, you can tell when it's, like, talking heads or,
Yeah.
when somebody's, like, legit means a line. It's just, it was ridiculous. But a lot of the shows on MTV were ridiculous. Do you remember Cranky Anchors?
That was on Comedy Central.
Was that Comedy
was
Central?
Comedy
I thought
Central,
that was
yeah.
I thought that was an MTV thing.
No,
first.
Cranky Anchors
That was one with, like, my fucking puppet fear. Like, if I, like, fell asleep on my, like, couch at home and,
Yes.
like, woke up in the middle of the night and fucking Cranky Anchors was on.
Which it always
Oh,
was.
I fucking hated that. I hated that.
Yeah, that was a Comedy Central one, and that was basically.
If you woke up in the middle of the fucking night in your bed and all of a sudden you see that your door's open a crack and you look up and there's just one of those fucking Muppets from Crank Anchors just standing there looking at you, no.
Okay.
No. You'd be fucking terrified.
He suffered from a
I
lot of
would
sleep
be
paralysis.
less worried about a Muppet than I would be a human being. If I woke up and there was a Muppet standing in my doorway, I'd be filled with a sense of enchantment and wonder. I would.
I don't know.
I would
Kermit
steady.
the Frog was in my doorway when I woke up.
Oh,
Hey, dude,
Kermit
how
the
you
Frog.
doing? Like,
I
what's
would.
the worst Kermit the Frog is going to do to you? Especially if this is
Kermit
a,
the Frog, I'd even be whatever about. But if I saw one of those fuckers from Cranky Anchors,
Oh yeah.
on the-
yeah. Like a special
no,
ed.
no.
A special ed character.
I mean,
peed in the
it's
pool,
one thing if it's
yay!
just standing there, but then like if it's standing there and you look at it and then it starts running at you, just like before you can even really think about what is
in
it,
full Muppet fashion.
Well,
and then right before
now,
it gets to you, it just disappears.
if it makes if it disappears again, I'm not worried again.
You wouldn't be worried at all if that
Enchantment
happened to you. You wouldn't be like, "What the fuck?"
Enchantment. Oh no, I'd be what the fuck, but mostly like what the fuck? What just happened?
You've been in tanks and war and shit, so you're fine.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about
Scares you.
If there's a human being standing in my doorway that I don't recognize, that's about 30 rounds of 7.62 by 2.9 by 3.9 that are going to be going through that individual and the preceding walls behind me.
I have a fat ass kukri that I keep right behind my pillow.
I want to see it.
That will
I love
it will
knives.
lop some fucking feet, dude.
I have a very.
I have a
thick knife
really weird
collection.
fear of someone coming through my window at night,
Mm-hmm.
but specifically coming like feet first. Like I have this fear of waking up to like shuffling and looking because my bed is right against the window, like looking over and seeing like feet coming through, like a foot.
Yeah.
So I've already decided and made the conscious choice for the whole world to know today. That if that ever happens, I'm lopping a foot off.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna ask questions later. I'm gonna say I'm
Yep.
sorry to the judge. Whatever I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you come through my window, you are gonna lose a foot. I'm taking it off. Yep. I am.
Did that fear come from any place, or that has just always been
It's
something
just a
you've...
really, ever since I was like little, because I've always had window. I've always slept against the window, especially like being in the desert all life. It's cooler. I don't know. You just sleep by the window. And I've just always had this weird thing of like waking up to shuffling and seeing like particularly feet coming
Like
through.
coming
the window.
through.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not afraid anymore because now I have the means to take it off.
Me, it's the sound of breaking glass that can wake me out of a dead sleep. That's like
I think
my
I would wake
thing.
anybody out
If
of a
I hear
dead sleep.
breaking
I've only
glass-
really heard like shattering, like a large amount of shattering real glass like once.
Okay.
For me, it's always like...
I love knives though.
Yeah, me too. I love knives.
Not that it wakes me up, but like one thing that's always... I mean, I guess this is pretty common to creep anybody out, but it's like if you're laying in your bed and you know that everybody's asleep and you hear like rummaging, like in your living room or the kitchen or something like that. You know, like obviously for example, if it happened here, it'd be like, oh, the cats are getting into something.
I was literally just
But-
gonna say that I would justify it as the cat.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I would too.
Yeah.
So, why this became normalized with me, and we'll talk more about this on the Halloween episode because that's what I'm saving all of these stories
Oh,
for.
Yes,
Adam.
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
Adam
yes.
has a
Is
friend.
is
has a follower.
the man in the hallway at my parents' house? So I just house sitted for my
Yeah,
parents.
only at his parents' house.
Yeah.
Definitely
Well,
didn't follow
it's
him.
just something different here. It's not the man in the hallway. That one stays at my parents' house.
It doesn't fuck with me, Vince. I'll tell you that right now.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Nope,
there's-
stays
there's
away
a lot
from
of
me
weird
because I don't mess with it.
there's
Best course of action.
Doesn't fuck
there's
with me. Fucks with
there's-
Adam.
There is
Fucks with Justin.
Oh,
It's got holds
and
on them.
let
yeah.
me
Doesn't
tell
fuck with
you.
me.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. I have new stories that I haven't even told Justin and Matthew yet because I'm just waiting
Now,
for the Halloween episode.
Truly, though, honestly, you really do get a above average amount of sleep paralysis.
Yes.
And with sleep
Yes.
paralysis really does come
Well, no, I'm not. But these
see
aren't.
things.
But these things that happen to me aren't just during sleep paralysis.
I know. I
just
fully
get
know
the,
that there's something that follows
yeah,
you. But I mean,
I just get the worst of it.
a
during
couple
sleep
of the
paralysis.
instances
Yes,
are
during sleep
are
paralysis.
literally you're dreaming with your eyes
Yeah,
and ears
and
open.
I understand, and I
But
do understand.
there really
that too.
is. I've had a few experiences with him.
So,
that
'cause-
are weird.
Yeah, because well, and those are things
Two.
too. Like when I tell people about the salt, because like the times when I do have sleep paralysis and I see things, you know, I'm especially now that I'm older, I'm very willing to be like, okay, what was this? Was it this? Was it something else?
Yeah.
You know, different things like that. But then there are some things that happen where I literally sit there and I'm like, hey, what could that have been and
Yeah,
stuff.
you go through the catalog.
Like when
of
the
things
fucking
in your
door
mind.
slams shut, not closes shut, but
Slams.
literally like someone's upset and
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
Or
closes the door,
Justin.
AC
and
did
you're
not
the
kick
only
on, yeah.
motherfuckers home. There's only two of you, and all the animals are in the
I've
room.
Yep.
well, and Vince, I mean, you've
I know.
you've been my
I've-
friend for
yeah.
quite some time,
When
you
the
know,
TV
and I even lived with
like,
you guys for a time.
spazzes out and turns off, not just like turned off, but
Yeah.
does a weird like, it like electrifies itself off.
Yeah,
Powers
There's-
the fuck down. Yeah.
there's definitely been enough things that have happened in my life now to
The
where
drawers
I'm
just
like,
open.
yeah, where I've just accepted the fact that whether people believe me or not, that there's something there.
You've heard that
It's-
one, right?
What's
With
that?
the drawers, where Justin in his room, he was literally walking by, and you've seen the drawers in his room.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they're heavy and they don't just pull out. And he walked by it, and it literally pulled like all the way out.
Yeah,
Oh, fun.
Boom.
Yay.
To the point that he literally dropped his laundry and came downstairs,
Yeah.
and he did not want to go back up by himself.
Yeah.
I was
I've
like, no,
lived-
I'm not going back up there.
I grew up in a house with a noisy ghost. It's not fun, but the shit does happen. I can't explain it.
Doesn't
You can call
it's
it
not
whatever you
mean or
want.
anything. It's just mischievous.
Yeah.
it's mean to
Shit
me.
goes missing sometimes. Things turn
Yeah,
on
it's
and
it's
off.
not very nice to Adam.
Yeah,
Does-
it's mean to me.
Do
but...
things go missing?
So things don't go missing. I've had the issue. So my biggest thing that I have with it is the times where I'll be laying in bed, or sometimes I won't even be in bed. Sometimes I'll be like in the living room or something.
Yeah.
And you get that unmistakable feeling that there is something watching you or something in the room with you.
Yes.
But I get it like fucking on steroids to the point where like it makes and being somebody who knows what an anxiety attack feels like now and knows what a panic attack feels like now,
Yeah.
the kind of anxious that I get when I'm having that feeling is very different to anything else. So I get those a lot. The sleep paralysis stuff, you know, I get quite often.
Yeah.
But the thing with like sleep paralysis is, so a lot of the times when you get sleep paralysis, it's when you're already in a deep sleep and then you like wake up in sleep paralysis. Your
Right.
body just hasn't caught up with you, is
Yeah.
what it is.
Your brain's in
Well,
REM, but your
I'll
body's
get
awake,
it
yeah.
to where I'm literally just laying down, haven't
but
even.
Opposite. But yes.
Your body's in
Oh,
REM,
yeah.
but your brain's awake. Okay.
Now, I get it to where I'm literally laying in bed and I haven't been to sleep yet. And I just start feeling it coming over me. And I'll literally, when I start feeling it, I'll literally reposition myself in my bed and just
Yeah.
like move my body and stuff like that. And immediately after I reposition myself, it just starts happening again.
What in-
And I've gotten to the point now to where like when I feel it happening and starting to overcome me, the first thing I do is close my eyes. Because I'm just like, I don't want to see anything. I just want to wait for it to pass.
So do you see things then? Times that you have?
yes.
Okay, so for everyone who doesn't know, this is the most incredibly interesting thing about sleep paralysis. That everyone who experiences it has the
Yes.
same story to tell. Adam, please tell us what you see when you
It's-
go into sleep paralysis.
It's not necessarily the exact same story, but it's
But same
always
premise.
it's
Yes.
premise.
It's
and
always
always very, very negative.
It always precludes incredible fear.
very bad, horrible, terrible
So
shit.
So the most recent one I had where I saw something like very clearly,
Yeah.
right, and this was even before Matthew moved in. This was actually a couple weeks after we moved into this
I
house.
hate these.
And
they really actually happened to me.
Yeah.
I know. I've never experienced them,
So-
but I've seen. I used to be a major somnambulist.
So I
I'm
was-
fascinated by
audio.
sleep shit.
so I was laying in bed, and I was in a position where I was sleeping on like my stomach to where my head was facing towards the window that was across the room.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's light coming in from like the street lights and stuff outside from the window. And I felt the sleep paralysis coming over me. Now, in this particular instance, even before I went into sleep paralysis, I started to have that feeling of like, oh, there's something in the room with me, blah, blah, that
Yeah.
really anxious feeling that possibly could have, made the sleep paralysis happen in the first place. But it was the same kind of situation I was explaining about where I wasn't asleep already. I didn't wake up in sleep paralysis. It just started happening. That same process happened to me while I was already awake.
Okay.
So I started to have it. It started to come over to me. I was not able to close my eyes in time. And sleep paralysis is just that, it's paralysis. So if you don't close your eyes are open until it's over.
You're on for the ride,
until
baby.
it's over.
Rigor
And
mortis,
it's
baby.
in real life, it's
So-
only a matter of like a few seconds,
But it
I think.
feels
But it
like
feels like
life. It
minutes,
feels
guys. And you're
bad.
terrified.
Yeah.
You're literally
So
terrified.
my eyes were open, and when it finally overcame me, I felt my body stiffen up and I couldn't move, and my eyes were wide open. And when you get sleep paralysis, it's not that you hear things, but your mind's just perceiving that you're hearing things. So your mind feels jumbled is what it
Yeah.
is. So like things like the air conditioning can seem like it's making like a
Something
riveting noise.
In
or
reality,
something
you're
like that.
you're dreaming in essence is what's
Yes,
happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you
You're
have
you're
your
awake,
senses.
but
Yeah.
you're like awake dreaming.
So the thing that I saw was it looked like there was a girl standing by the window completely in the shadows to where I couldn't see them. I'm going to do my best to describe this, but it might be like it's easier to show up, so I'm going to do my best to describe it.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was standing there, like the skinny young girl standing there with its like head down. So, and it had short, I remember vividly, it had short hair, and it was covering over just a little bit of the face. And it looked like it was, did you guys ever see I Am Legend with
Yeah.
Will Smith?
Yeah.
You remember when he walked into like the warehouse and the things were sleeping, but they were all like
Yeah.
moving their like body
Yeah.
and like upper body up and down really fast.
Yeah.
Like they were breathing super hard. It was that.
How fun.
But it was just standing there and doing it, and all I could do was just look at it until sleep paralysis like ended.
Yeah.
And then when it ended, like you immediately like get up and shake yourself
Dude,
off, and it goes away.
For some people, it goes even further, and that thing will actually come up on the bed with them.
Yes.
It's
They
called the hag on
say
the back.
they
yeah.
can
Yeah,
feel it
that's-
actually touching
So,
them.
I've never had
And for some
that.
people, they act like some chicks even say that it will rape them and shit, and they actually have
Yeah.
to they experience that.
Yeah, so I've never had that.
Yeah.
But what's funny though is like, so I could understand like the rape thing, for example, because the very first time I had sleep paralysis,
But it's all in your head. It's nothing's
was-
actually real.
it's all in your
Yeah,
head.
You're dreaming
you know.
it.
So the first time I ever had sleep paralysis, you know, obviously it was the first time, so I had zero clue what the fuck was happening. So you're freaking out even more.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
what happens is it starts for those who've never had it, it starts at it's like a tingly feeling at your toes, and it works your way up your body, and as that tingly
definitely
feeling
know
works
what's
your
gonna
way up,
happen.
it
Yeah.
starts stiffing up every part that's hitting you.
Oh, fun.
So what happened was, as that tingly feeling started to work its way up my body, I tried to like counteract it and started to like move my body. Well, that wasn't helping it. So I started arching my back, and as I was arching my back, it was moving up, and my back would be stuck like that.
Yeah.
And then I remember it got up to my neck. And the first thing I wanted to do when it got up to that was like scream out my roommate's name at that time. But
Yeah.
when it comes up, it just sounds like,
Yep.
Yeah.
You can't
Like that.
scream. And then it's weird because the more you try to fight it when you're in it,
Yeah.
the worse the, I guess, hallucinations get. Because for me, it used to be audio. I used to get bells that would go off, dude, but they were like
just
the end
deafening,
of the
right?
world bells, dude. Loud, and as if you were right under the tower and they were ringing the fucking. It's loud. You think your eardrums are gonna pierce, dude.
Yeah.
And there's nothing really there.
But that's
Yes.
my thing, dude. I get a lot of visual, so anytime I feel it come over now,
You
I
know
just
what I've
close
noticed,
my
though?
eyes.
Is that I did kind of figure out, because I used to try to fuck with it because I hated it that it happened. And I found that more often than not, when I fell asleep in positions where my head was tilted backwards like that, for whatever reason, I don't know if the blood flows to a certain part or pushes on something. For me personally, I would experience it more when that happened.
Your brain's
And
back
now
there
that
being
I-
kinked, man.
Yeah.
Well, now that I sleep, because I have acid reflux, I
Right.
sleep with a few pillows under me. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sitting up just very slightly. I've not experienced it at all in my adulthood. Ever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe something to just try, put an extra pillow or something.
Yeah, maybe. I just know that this, like, as I've gotten older, I experience it more. Is
Oh,
what happens.
jeez,
So
man.
as I get older, I start having more bouts of it.
Okay.
you
One
know?
thing to relieve yourself though is I'm sure you've looked into it a lot too.
Yeah.
But I've researched the fuck out of it because it used to freak me out.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
there's
ever-
nothing actually physical that happens that's bad for you. Like it could happen 1,000 times every single
Yeah, yeah,
night,
no,
and you can
there's-
live healthy.
Yeah, it's
it doesn't
just
hurt you.
something
Have you
that
ever-
more people are prone to.
Have
than
you guys
others.
ever looked into binaural tones?
Yes.
Like, okay, so binaural.
They're in a lot of like guided meditation type of videos.
Well, they
and
also
such,
have
yeah.
ones for sleep, for
Yeah.
lucid dreaming. Also,
Oh, I'm not into that. I hate dreaming, Vince.
Really?
Have I ever told you that?
streaming.
No.
Okay, so
No,
let me
never.
explain something to you real quick. Adam knows this well, and
Yeah.
I think I've said it on the podcast before. Consistently throughout my whole life, I don't have dreams like people normally do. So
Okay.
my dreams are very, very realistic.
Yeah.
In that, not that they're vivid, but they are like, I'm at the fucking grocery store.
You experience.
I'm grocery shopping.
It's real. to
I'm
you.
driving on the
Yeah.
highway. No, they're things that you would do in real life, is what I'm saying.
Oh.
They're not dreamy things. I drive on the highway in traffic. I go to the store and I'm walking down the aisles. I'm in a school and I'm trying to get to class.
When's the last time you got blackout drunk and got kicked out of a public place?
I've never been kicked out of a public place.
Okay, let me.
I'm the cool kid, Vince.
I was gonna say, why do you
I-
ask?
I
them?
run
no,
the party.
So check
I
this
run the
out, man.
party. I
I can
don't
tell
get
you what's
kicked out of
happening right now because I used to have the same issues, dude. I would dream that I was at work and I'd
Dude,
wake up.
I
and have to go to
literally,
work.
I dream that I'm on the highway. I dream I'm driving down the fucking highway. And I tell Adam all the time, I hate it because I live normal life
Bro,
and then I have to do it in my dreams.
You're not getting enough excitement. You're not getting enough excitement. Even your dreams have gotten into a rut, bro.
Dude,
You're not getting-
It's
dude,
no shit.
go
But it's been like
paintballing
my
or
whole life.
something,
I'm
like-
a happy person and shit.
And yeah, no,
don't feel bored.
consciously you're a happy person, but I mean subconsciously there's a level of just humdrum.
Dude, I wish we didn't have to dream. I fucking hate dreaming. because they're just so.
See,
like,
My dreams are
I'm like, fuck, I have to go to work in
Dude,
my
I
dream.
get-
I love lucid
Dude,
dreaming.
I literally
Oh,
get
no.
Boy.
when I dream. So I sometimes just get movies that get played out in front.
That's
of
what
me.
I get.
Adam will
I ride
literally
the
put
tidal
the
wave of my
patches
dreams.
to stop smoking. He'll put nicotine patches on
Oh,
Just so I can
before
lose
bed
my
on
dream,
purpose.
yeah.
I can't do that,
On
Adam.
purpose.
I
know.
get nightmares.
And
I
the
get
box
nightmares
tells you
when I
don't do that.
Oh my gosh! But I've had some. So I'm going to explain one of my dreams. It's one of my favorite dreams I've ever had, just because I thought it was such a crazy concept. And like I said, it played out as a movie. There was a beginning, middle, and well, there wasn't an end to it, but there was definitely a beginning and middle, and it just kind of went on, right? And I remember vividly till this day. So it started off with me driving down this vacant road towards this like city in the middle of nowhere, skyscrapers, everything, right? And I knew I was going there to go to community college specifically. That's why I was traveling to this city.
Yeah.
And so I remember being there. I remember getting situated in my apartment. I remember going to my first day in class and sitting there and being in class, right? And then I had people in class come to me and were like, hey, like, you're new here. What's your name? Oh, I'm Adam. They introduced themselves to me, right? Normal so far. And then they were like, so have you ever experienced nightlife here in the city? And I go, no, this is my first day here. I haven't done anything like that yet. And they said, okay, meet us outside of this like movie theater at 8 o'clock or like at 7:30, something like that, sometime. And so, all of a sudden the dream jumps ahead and I'm like, in the middle of the city, there's skyscrapers and everywhere, and there's like a movie theater that I'm standing outside of. So there's people waiting in line to see movies and such like that. And these three people come and they're like, hey Adam, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. And then he goes, and then they go, all right, so you've never experienced nightlife here before, right? And he goes, no. And he goes, all right, we're just gonna wait until like whatever time it was, like 8 o'clock or something. And I'm like, okay, fine. So we're all just kind of standing there waiting, and then all of a sudden that time hits. Let's say it's 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock hits.
Yeah.
And a car that was driving on the road veers over and just runs into all the people that are waiting in line to see a movie or whatnot.
Jeez.
And then I look around and it's like The Purge happening almost,
Oh,
right?
wow,
Or something
yeah.
similar to it. And the three, all of a sudden, like, I'm looking at this car and being like, what the fuck? And the three friends I have, one of them says, good luck. And they all like veer off into different directions and start running away. And then I remember basically like panicking and like running around and staying away from people.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point I was like hiding in an alleyway, like behind a building, like catching my breath, like what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And something happened to where I died, right? But then all of a sudden I woke up in my bed the next morning and I went to school, the community college. And I'm thinking at my point in my dream, like, that was a weird dream.
Yeah.
And I get to class and the three friends are there and they go, yeah, did you have a good time last night? And I was perplexed because I didn't really remember anything from like last night except this dream.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I told them this and they go, no. And they go, yeah, no, that really happened. And they go, in this city, nobody dies between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. If you die, you just wake up in your bed the next morning.
Wow.
And so I was like, interesting, right? So then the dream kind of like continues on from there of having this life. And I remember like there was, while things are happening in the city, there was like this thing where like people would come and hang out at the beach, and the beach was like a neutral zone. So people would just kind of party at bonfires on the beach. And there was this girl with silver hair that I was like really into. And like,
This is a dream, right?
This is a dream.
Oh, okay. Fuck.
And I was like in love with her, right? and like her dad was the fire chief, and the firemen basically kind of like patrolled this neutral zone.
Yeah.
So her dad was like a big deal and like made sure nobody was doing anything, blah, blah, all of that stuff. And then it turned into this whole story of her dad didn't like me. Her dad was like other
What's not to
friends were
like?
going through other shit. So, but in the story kind of, yeah.
I know.
And there wasn't really ever an end to the dream, but that was the whole premise of the dream, and it played off like
You
that
should
up
have wrote
until I
that
woke
down,
up.
and you'd be a fucking millionaire now because you would have been the purge guy.
Right? Well, this was way after the Purge was even released.
is
Are you
that?
fucking eating nerds?
No, jelly beans.
Jelly
Where the fuck
beans?
did you get jelly beans?
I
Yeah,
had
where
them
the
in
fuck
my
did you
pocket. I
pull
told
those
you
up?
when I came in. You were. Oh no, it was you. I told. Matt was like, "Oh, you got snacks."
So
And
I
was like, "Yeah,
remember
got
you
snacks."
saying you had jelly beans,
Yeah, I
but
got
then I
jelly
didn't see it, so I thought you were just fucked up
No,
and you
do you guys
said
want some
that
jelly beans?
on
Yeah.
I
accident.
mean, sure.
I guess I kind of do, yeah.
Just put some in the hand. Let's
What-
see what I get.
Are they like all different kinds?
Yeah, it's one of the Jelly Belly like multiple flavor ones.
I gotta
Put
do them
some-
one at a time.
Yep.
Oh, I
Adam
just
goes
shoved them
balls
all in my
in,
mouth. Yeah. That's the way I usually
I wonder
do.
what we'll get.
I got a rock.
I got licorice.
Licorice. All right.
Black licorice. It matters.
I don't know, I think there was grape in there, maybe a little bit of cherry.
Oh no, this one's gonna be gross because it's yellow and has spots. Let's try
The
it.
taste of vomit.
I think one of them is.
Oh, it's disgusting.
Yeah, this bar flavor one.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this like
This one
Birdie
tastes like-
Bot's every flavored bean?
No,
This
these
one
are
tastes like
Jelly Belly
plants.
Bean Boozled.
Let me see.
You guys have been.
What's
bean
the
boozled.
plant one? Is there something that tastes like greenery or plants or grass?
The green
or...
one?
Well,
what you
what's
said?
like something tastes like plants or dirt?
Lawn clippings.
I got that one.
I think I'm eating barf right now.
There's stinky socks too.
Oh, that's what it is. Stinky
Well,
sock.
I
Okay.
have to take a couple more now. What's this? Okay, this one might be either barf or peach. It's one of those.
It's gonna be one or the other.
Or strawberry banana smoothie. They literally all look alike on this box.
Let me
so-
see it because I got a red one that was disgusting.
Where's her one?
Is there a ketchup one? I think.
I
Oh,
got
this is
canned dog food.
definitely barf. This
I
is
got-
definitely barf.
I got canned dog food.
Canned dog food. Nice.
Yep, this is for sure the barf flavor.
Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna do this one light sky colored blue one. This is either going to be toothpaste or berry blue. I have a strong feeling it's about to be toothpaste.
That one's chocolate pudding.
Oh, okay.
This one is toothpaste.
Oh, minty.
I'm eating. It's very toothpaste.
Oh, gross.
I have a blue one too. Let's see if
These
I
are
can.
horrible. Why would they
I'm-
do this?
Because they're hilarious.
I have one left. It's not going to be good.
This one's either going to be juicy pear or booger.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
God.
a gamble, my friend.
May the odds be in your favor. Is it booger?
I hope it's pear. It sounds good.
I see eyebrows.
No,
Either
this
he
is
really
lawn.
likes boogers.
No, this
or-
is lawn clippings.
Oh, you got
Oh.
lawn clippings?
This is
It's
definitely lawn
super
clippings.
green,
It's
isn't it?
Super
You
green.
it tastes like plant.
Dude, I'm fighting down the urge to just spit out this gummy
What's a
bean.
white-ish, yellowish one? What's that?
White as Sheila, it's either spoiled milk or coconut.
Oh, God, I hate both of those. I literally hate
Oh, this is
both
a
options.
gamble.
Lesser of two
No, I
evils.
hate coconut,
Oh
Vince.
God, I know. So this is like.
Oh, no, this is horrible either. All right, here we
Yeah,
go.
do it.
Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got.
Come on, coconut. Oh, no. It's not coconut.
It is the
What's the other one?
alternative.
Spoiled milk.
Oh, God, it's that.
Oh,
It's that.
man.
Oh no, this is gonna be bad.
Oh, it's gross.
Okay, juicy pear or booger. This is legit. Juicy pear or booger.
Oh, God, that one's really stinky, dude. It sticks to you.
Come on, juicy
Oh,
pear.
milk is rough.
I don't remember what boogers taste like, but I think I'm about to remember right now.
Oh, milk was rough. I need something else.
This one's either canned dog food.
Oh, wait, what did you get?
Juicy pear.
You got pear?
Oh. Yeah, I
got
Fucker. I want pear.
This one's either canned dog food or chocolate pudding. I'm like trying to like get all the other flavors in my mouth really quick. Okay, let's see. Oh, this one's definitely dog food. I could not even keep it in my mouth. I took
Oh,
one.
fucker. I did milk.
I took
I
one-
chewed and
Oh,
swallowed
God, I can
milk.
smell it.
I got dog
I can
food, too. It
smell
wasn't that bad.
now. I can
Oh.
smell it.
It's pretty bad.
I smell it from here.
Well, that's long clippings again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
no, that's
take that in.
oh my God, that's
Dude,
pungent.
dog
You know what?
food's
I
rough.
haven't had one like good one yet. Are all of these like jokes?
No, I just had a juicy pear.
Oh, okay.
It was
that's
either
right.
booger or juicy pear. I got juicy pear. Thank God.
Oh, I got berry. Berry
Okay.
blue.
Hey, you did it.
So this one's either toothpaste or what's the other blue one?
Berry blue.
Berry blue.
I
Come
just
on,
got,
berry
so
blue.
your odds
I
are
got
not good.
toothpaste, so your odds are good.
You'll know.
Yeah, this is definitely toothpaste.
Okay.
This is definitely some
Wow.
Colgate shit.
Yeah. it's like legit. Hey, at least it came after the dog food, right? Came
Yeah,
after the dog
touche.
food.
The dog, dude. I took a bite of that first bite of the dog food was
Dog
fucking
food's
Still-
horrible.
I can
Dog food's
still
rough.
smell it.
Rough. No, no pun.
That's toothpaste. I don't want that.
You're like, no, that's glucose. We're not doing that.
Oh, here, one of you needs to try this one. I want
Okay.
one of you to get milk.
Okay.
Milk
all
is
right,
really
all right.
bad.
Find 2 white ones and give
Yeah,
them both
yeah,
to
no,
us.
yeah, no kidding. Oop.
So they were the yellowish
That one right there.
ones.
I thought they were
Yeah.
the white ones.
Oh yeah, the white
Yep.
ones. There's only
The white-
one white one.
Yep. Okay, so this is
That's
coconut.
either coconut or spoiled milk.
Do you have another one?
Yeah,
you have
here
two?
we go. Here we go.
Oh.
So that's the.
Is there another white one in there?
Is
We'll
there?
gamble this shit.
Is that it right there, Matt? Right here. Oh no, this is white and yellow. This is either popcorn or what?
People listening
Well,
are
I
like,
just got
what the
Booger.
fuck are these
You
guys?
got
I just
Booger?
got
How was
Booger.
Booger?
Oh, gnarly.
Booger's not that bad actually.
Booger's not that bad?
No, it's kind of sweet.
Okay.
Okay.
Where are these pink ones with the green on it? What's pink and green?
Pink and green.
People are listening right now and being like, what the fuck are these 3 grown
Skip
men
it.
doing?
Oh, booger or juicy pear?
No, it's stinky stock or
Oh no, I got the mother load right here. This one is either rotten egg or buttered popcorn. I hate both.
God, go
I
for
hate
it. That's gonna be
both
rough
of
either
those
way.
things.
Here,
I
we'll
gotta
do
get
these ones.
My
Okay.
water ready for this
So,
one.
okay, while you're, can I get a sip of that too? I want to cleanse my palate.
Absolutely. Here you go, my friend.
So
Oh, boy.
between me and you,
Oh,
Adam,
boy.
there we have the same one. We're either stinky socks or juicy fruity.
All right. Well,
Ooh,
bottoms up.
Come on,
bottoms
stinky
up.
socks. What do we got?
It's not fruity, but it's not gross either. So
Mine's
I don't know.
not either. I think this is supposed to be stinky sock.
It's not that
Okay.
bad.
Well,
yeah, it tastes
we
like
could try it
nothing,
again.
though.
Here goes either
There's 2 more.
spoiled milk or popcorn. Again,
Oh.
I hate both. I can't smell it either. You can't smell it through the shell, like the candy shell.
No,
keeps-
it's either rotten egg or buttered popcorn.
What did I say?
The yellow one. You said spoiled milk.
Oh,
So
okay,
yours is
rotten
either
egg
or
or
buttered popcorn.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Oh, well, that one's good. You'll
Oh
know
god,
that. That's
oh god, I'm
bubble
gonna
gum.
bite down. Oh, that's definitely rotten egg. Oh, that's bad.
Oh, that's Duros.
I got stinky sock again.
Oh,
for
that's
that
so
one.
bad.
Well, I think these two are either the coconut or the
Or the milk ones?
milk ones.
Oh,
yeah.
that's bad.
Those are them.
Okay.
Those are
well,
the fuckers.
No, that one actually might
Oh,
be.
maybe I got rotten egg earlier, and I thought that it was milk.
I was gonna say because I think those ones are rotten egg. Or
I think
buttered
I got
popcorn.
rotten egg like
Rotten
you
egg's
did. It.
gnarly.
Rotten egg's super gnarly. It's disgusting.
Oh boy, it's in
Well,
my teeth.
shit. I think we've tasted all of them.
That
now
was the
you
worst one by
can.
far.
Oh no, we haven't. Ooh, wait, hold on.
Oh, the orange ones.
This one
The
right
orange-
here.
What are those?
So the one that you have.
Dead fish or strawberry banana smoothie right
Yep.
here. Right
Wait,
here.
is that what?
Yeah, yeah.
Are those
Oh, no,
different?
no.
I think those are. I think you have the last one.
This
for
one
that
is moldy
particular
cheese.
one.
What are
and
these
that's
two?
moldy cheese or caramel corn.
Oh, that
This
sounds
one,
gross either
this
way.
one right here is dead fish or strawberry
Yeah,
banana
so
smoothie.
these ones are either moldy cheese or caramel corn. So there's one.
We have to do it?
Yep.
Fuck.
All right. Bottoms up.
Wait,
Thumbs up.
wait. Which one? Which one?
I have the
doing-
moldy cheese or. Oh yeah. So
Okay.
take this one.
Here we go.
Moldy cheese or caramel corn.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, here we go.
It's a three-way, boys.
All right.
Three-way boys.
Here we go.
Bottoms up. Definitely moldy cheese.
I got
Definitely moldy
cheese.
I got cheese. All,
I got cheese, boys.
tastes like blue cheese in my mouth.
Hey, you know
It's
what's fucked
disgusting,
up?
boys.
It's
No.
very disgusting, and I love cheese.
I don't mind this. I don't mind this at all right now.
Do you like blue cheese?
I love blue cheese.
Well, that's why you don't mind it.
Okay.
This tastes like really gnarly, like the gnarly end of Italian food. Like the cold pasta-y, nasty
Fazoli's,
end.
like
Like
Fazoli's.
Parmesan.
But like the really stinky end of it.
Yes, I agree with you.
That's what that is. All right, dudes, we did it.
we
Yeah,
did it. We
yeah.
Thanks for that, Vince. That was great.
No problem. No problem.
That was
That
really
was such
disgusting.
a random segue, but I'm so happy we had that moment.
I
to
think
share
like
with each
2
other.
out of 16 were good.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Okay.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem. I'm glad everybody got a
Sorry,
good one.
viewers, that you had to go through
Yeah,
that.
no, no.
We had a great time.
Yeah. I
That
wanna
probably was
try-
not fun for
I
you.
want to try one of these potential lawn clippings.
Lawn
The lawn
clippings,
clippings wasn't
they're
bad.
not bad. They're just really planty.
As somebody who used to
Okay.
drink
It
like
tastes
moringa
like
every
plant.
morning and shit, like it's like whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not bad.
If you've had matcha,
Although we both got it, so you're probably gonna get.
yeah,
Nope, I got lime.
I was gonna
got
say you're probably
lime.
gonna
Yeah.
get lime.
Tasty.
Fucking
I
asshole.
kind of want lime too, because this one's probably lime too.
Watch it be long clippings again.
No, that's lime.
Long clip. Is
Lime
that
is
lime?
super
All
good.
right, all
Lime
right.
is delicious.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
One day we'll have to get like we'll do this again, but get like the Harry Potter
We'll get the
Birdie
Birdie
Bot
Bots,
every because those ones have like earwax and like a lot of other random shit in there.
It's weird because even the disgusting ones, they're made out of sugar, but they're not good. It's like they found a way to make sugar gross.
Yeah, it actually makes me wonder,
They're
like, what they.
somewhat palatable still, so people aren't spitting them out.
I mean, yeah, you're not gonna.
What I feel like
vomit,
they
but-
do though, like
Dog food, though.
it makes me
Dog food
wonder
is
how they
nasty.
make them though. I wonder if they just like put like random flavors in there that they know are gonna taste bad, and then taste them and go, so where does this taste the closest to you? Well, this tastes closest to
Well,
spoiled milk for me. You
I can
know?
tell you, lawn clippings. They probably literally took, like, the juice
Essence,
from
like-
some kind of plant and
Touche.
actually used that as a flavoring.
Essence
Yeah, I
oil.
could see that.
Essence oil
It literally
from-
tastes
like
like
Essence
you're
of,
eating
essence of
dandelions.
stinky sock. you
It
know?
sounds crazy, but that shit exists. Like, there's people out there whose job it is to make like flavors and scents of pretty much everything.
I believe it.
Like candles and perfume companies pay out the ass for like crazy weird.
Don't they use?
Scents and
Don't
stuff
they
like
use
that.
like? Is it whale poop or whale sperm for a lot of like colognes and perfumes?
Ew.
Ambergris, ambergris.
I thought that was
I
whale
think is that what
fat.
it called? What?
I thought that was blubber grease.
No, ambergris is what I think it's called. I think it's like whale sperm or some shit like that. I'm gonna look.
Maybe
it
it
up
comes
really
from a
quick.
sperm whale.
Maybe ambergris. Yep, it's there.
Okay.
Your phone's
this
like,
is-
gross. Why are you
A
Googling
waxy
that?
substance that originates as a secretion in the intestines of the sperm whale, found floating in tropical seas and used in perfume manufacture.
This grassy one is very grassy.
Yeah, it's
I told
long
you got
clippings,
it.
bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
It's very planty.
I want to try dog food, but I'm scared.
Dog food's really disgusting.
Yeah,
If I go
dog
home
food's
to my
horrible,
wife
man.
tonight smelling like dog food in my mouth, she's gonna go, "What were you and Adam
Well,
doing?"
the alternative is chocolate pudding, which was also gross. So they're both disgusting flavors.
Oof,
Maybe I
okay.
got chocolate
both.
pudding then. It was just horrible. I don't know. But definitely the first thing that came to my mind was dog food, though.
Yeah, dog food.
no.
I got
Smell
dog food too.
food coming from you.
It is not
Oh,
good.
it was- oh, that
it tastes
was
like
bad.
the wet canned dog food.
Smelled like the wet canned dog food, like
Yeah.
the Caesar stuff, that Mr. Dog. Yeah.
Oh,
I
it
hate
was
the
nasty.
smell of that shit already, and I fucking ate a jelly bean flavored one. What the fuck?
They look like they're supposed to be good.
Oh,
Rotten
that's
egg
the
was the
trick.
worst. Rotten egg was the worst one by far.
Well, gentlemen, we are at 2 hours and 50 minutes of this
Almost.
podcast.
Oh wow! Look at
hours.
that. You're
Wow.
welcome, guys.
Yeah,
welcome.
You don't even
killed,
have
like,
to request it.
9 minutes with jelly beans. So you're welcome for that.
Oh my gosh, I think the jelly beans though is a good place to end it today. Thank you everybody for listening to episode 103 of the Hardly Millennial podcast. We are young, dumb, and full of opinions, and you heard plenty of them today. Remember, you can follow us on all the social media platforms. We also have a Patreon, www.patreon.com/Hardly Millennial.
Do it.
Find us, donate money to us,
Do it.
and we'll give you some great fucking content, ladies and gentlemen.
Do it.
Do it. All right. Any final thoughts, Vince?
As always, everybody out there, just be excellent to each other.
Beautiful. Any final thoughts, Matthew?
Great to be here, guys. We love you lots. Thanks for listening.
We love you, Matt.
Thank you, guys. Until next week, goodbye.
Bye.
Later, dudes.